Yo, I apologize, guys. Man, I just went live for like 10 minutes talking and my mic was off. Dude, that sucks. Oh, man, that's hilarious. Dude, that sucks. For 5 minutes, I was on mute and I was talking. Bro, I was cooking. I'm going to paraphrase everything that I said. Why do fighters go professional? Why do fighters become amateur boxers and then eventually turn pro? Yo, mic check, mic check. Can you guys hear me? Because I don't want to start all over by saying all this and warp speed going. Dude, I was going off, man. For 5 minutes. It was a grand entrance. Look, all right, man. Let me get down to brass tacks. Why do fighters turn pro? Why do amateur boxers turn pro? It's to make money. That's logic. Because they fought many rounds, many fights, many tournaments for free. Why? To chase the glory of being a gold medalist, to gain experience, to in turn do what? To become professional. Why do you become professional? So you can finally make money off your blood, sweat, and tears. So when fighters tell us that, like, yeah, man, I turned pro to make money, get girls and, shit. This is my job. Why is that so shocking to us? Why do we get so confused when guys that, especially guys like Jermell Charlo or even Mikey Garcia or Bud Crawford, when they've already been champions, right? And they decide to move up in weight, many can call them first ballot Hall of Famers. And when they decide to move up in weight 10, 20, 30 pounds and chase the biggest money fights, why do we get crazy about it? Why don't we look at it like, oh, that's logical reasoning? They've already became champions. They've already became undisputed. Let them go after the money, the huge amount of money. You see, let's say there's 30,000 professional boxers. Out of those 30,000 professional boxers, maybe 300 of them, hell, maybe 30 of them are able to live way above their means. Those aren't good statistics. I'm not going to name drop some amateur pros. I mean, some pros that I've known or managers that I've spoken to. We'll talk about Shane Mosley. My dad took a picture with him. I met him here in Salinas. Him and Chris Bird, they were trying to promote their church and also like some marijuana ointments and stuff. And I talked to Mosley and we were talking about numbers a little bit. And he basically said, look, man, if you really want to make money, boxing really isn't the sport. When I talked to managers, boxing managers like Kathy Garcia, she also told me, look, man, if you really want to make money as a whole, don't do boxing. Mind you, I'm a little bit blind. I have contacts. So when I fight, I have to squint to really see the punches. I got to get on the inside because I don't have 20/20 vision. And when you hit me and sometimes you hit me in the eye, contact falls off and I'm fighting really with one good eye, one blurry as hell, and the other one like, 20/20. So they were telling me like, go a different route, right? The reason I preface this is because going back to those 30,000 professional boxers, male and female, only 330 of them, 300 or 30 of them actually really make really good money. Out of those 300 fighters that make really good money, probably take home 90% of the revenue made. I remember there was an article that came out where they talked about the Golden Boy company and how Canelo was the money, the breadwinner, and he was making 95% profit for Golden Boy. That was his only fighter that was bringing in the money. The only reason why Golden Boy hadn't gone under was because of Canelo. Now, this was during the time when the PBC had all of the Golden Boy stable, right? The mass exodus with Richard Schaefer and Al Green and Al Heyman. Canelo was that guy for Golden Boy. So the other fighters like Jojo Diaz, the other fighters that Golden Boy had during the time, they were probably making pennies on the dollar. You get what I'm saying? So when guys like Jermell Charlo, Mikey Garcia, and Bud Crawford decide to move up 2 weight classes and after becoming multi-divisional champions, they're undisputed, and they go after the big-ass money grab, why is that a problem? Why are we so shocked? And why don't we actually preach this to fighters? Go after the bag. See, a lot of the time, these fighters become champions because they have this thought process that if I become a champion, I'm gonna make the millions of dollars. You get what I'm saying? That's usually the route that most of these fighters go through. They work their way up the rankings, contender phase, mandatory phases to finally get that shot of becoming a champion. That's not even promised because it takes a lot of factors. You have to be able to sell out venues. You have to, to get yourself in that position. Just moving up the rankings, it's not enough no more, right? You have to bring a following. In fact, some promotional companies won't even touch you if you don't, or try to sign you a contract if you don't have a fan base or have social media followers. I think that's what Top Rank does. So what I'm trying to say is this. When Bud Crawford or Jermell Charlo decide to fight Canelo Alvarez, we should applaud these dudes. You get what I'm saying? Because Crawford is once he retires, he's instantly a Hall of Famer. He's made it to Thug Mansion, Gangster Paradise, Boxing Immortality, right? But what does Crawford now need? He doesn't need more championship belts. He needs more money. See, he probably wants to own all of Nebraska. Probably wants to make his own promotional company and own, I don't know, thousands of acres. He might want to be a sports owner team, minority owner, or maybe run his own boxing company or his own sport. How does he do that? By having $1 billion. How does he get to $1 billion? Oh, by fighting Canelo Alvarez. So then what's the problem? See, I personally rather see Canelo fight David Benavidez for multiple reasons that we'll get into this video. But Bud Crawford versus Canelo is a very interesting fight to me. I'm actually quite intrigued by it. Bud Crawford's a great fighter. He's going to give Canelo a very good fight. I prefer Crawford not to do it. And I'm not even the biggest Crawford fan, but I'm going to respect him for it. Just like I give a lot of credit for Jermell Charlo. Now, he didn't give the best fight towards Canelo, but I didn't expect him to. I did expect a little better showing from Edgar Berlanga because he's actually that weight class, that size, and bigger than Canelo. Jermell moving up 14 pounds, there's a difference. Yo, let me check if the Mexican G, Warp Speed, he goes, ha ha ha, Jojo Diaz is a mess. Legacy matters. I agree. So what happens when your legacy is already established? Like Bud Crawford's case, like Canelo's case. What more do you need? You need more money. Drew, 1, 2, 3 goes, I'm in the lobster. All right, Drew. Mic check, brother. You hear me loud and clear. Oh, Warp Speed's in here. What's going on?
Oh, mic check.
What's cracking like a man?
Mic check 212. I'm just kidding. What's up, man?
Yo, hold on, fellas. Y'all go give the music video that I did with Cal Paradise some love, man. Shout out to the Mexican G for saying he the man. Yeah. Redskin. Yo, what's going on, guys? Hey, yo, mic check really quick. How y'all been? What's the temperature looking like, man? We got blessed with some 70-degree weather today on a Thursday night on January.
In the middle of winter.
Nice.
It's the end of the world, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is, right? When everything is topsy-turvy. Brown is white, cold is hot, beautiful is ugly, men are women. It's the end of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, good even fall to one and all. This is Warp Speed. And thank you very much, homie Ricky, for adding me on into your panel, and also to you, Dream123. I hope you fine gentlemen are doing well of health and sane of mind. And I hope you guys are ready to have a lively discussion about all things Canelo. Canelo and, in fact, Terrence Bud Crawford. Two of the greatest fighters in the current milieu, the current era. They have proven themselves time and time again that these gentlemen are feisty, capable, very athletic individuals that will not say no to good scraps, to good fights. They will not duck anybody. They will take risks, and they want to get paid handsomely, right? In the case of Canelo Alvarez over Terence Crawford, of course, he is used to asking for demands and getting proper recompense. In the situation of Terence Bud Crawford, we know that it is quite the opposite. Has he been paid handsomely for what he's provided to the sport? Yeah, yeah, an average of 3.5 to $4 million per fight, right? So that is a very comfortable way of making a living, but in no way, shape, or form does he compare to the GOAT, the moneymaker, the A side, and every single fight that he's ever been in, except, of course, let's say perhaps Money Mayweather. It would be Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan, who is used to making 60 million and even upwards of that. So we're going to be discussing that right there. I asked homie Ricky if he would like to go live, and he said, what do you want to talk about? I said, big money, big fights, history in the making. And he said, let's go for it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yo, Drew, my check real quick, buddy. You're nerd.
Sorry, man. I was about to get some water and then I had to turn back. Yeah, what's up, man? Sorry.
Mexican G says Crawford never did anything to be considered great. In fact, Crawford is by far the most overrated boxer of all time. Yo, man, he's coming out there with the heat, bro. You got to check that out. Well, what do you think about those comments, dude? Because a lot of people they actually say things like that. In fact, I probably said stuff similar, at one point, similar things to that as well.
I've given it some. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, I've given it some thought, man. Honestly, like I kind of trust what Tim Bradley says as far as like what he has said about Crawford. I think honestly that's what kind of has me a little like torn a little bit, just because I really respect his opinion. I don't agree with everything he says, but most of it I feel like he says it with his heart, because he really means it. But anyways, honestly, it's a 50-50 fight, man. When I first heard about the fight or the potential fight, I was like, bro, Canelo is gonna knock him out. He cannot. Crawford cannot take that power. That is way too many divisions. It's not. We're not talking about an 18-pound jump. We're talking about what, a 21-pound jump right there from 47 to 68. It's like, bro, that's insane. So I just don't think no one can really make that type of jump, because he's fast, but I don't think he would have knockout power even at 154, but to fight someone at 168, that would be history. But man, I think just knowing just Crawford's ability to box, bro, I think Crawford does have a very good chance of beating Canelo, in a real 50-50 fight. But honestly, I was saying with all my heart, bro, that Canelo could actually knock him out, bro. But just because we've seen him wobbled in the lower weight classes, but for some reason, yeah, he has gone wobbled at 147, but I mean, he hasn't found enough at 154 to find out, so
I don't think Bud Crawford's ever been wobbled at 147.
never wobbled, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so
oh no,
yeah,
that's true. That's not true. You're
Victor
right.
Postol.
No, that's 140. Mean Machine wobbled him, dropped him.
yeah. So I'm
Kowalski.
right, and it's just there. Canelo does have a chance, but if Crawford, plays his cards right, he can actually beat Canelo in a unanimous decision. But honestly, I think eventually Canelo would eventually catch him, bro, and that's what makes a good fight, right? Like the more I think about it, the more I like the fight. I was so against it, but any fight that would boost the name of boxing, because that, or really move the needle, because we're running out of legends, bro, in boxing to make big fights. We're starting to use the older guys, to make big fights now, like Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson, and That even though that wasn't to me wasn't a big fight, it made big numbers, and I feel like we missed that, honestly, to me, I think Fury and Usyk was could was that, but it didn't move the needle.
Yeah.
Uh, I think like obviously like when it's gonna be years until we get the next Mayweather Pacquiao fight. It's gonna be fucking decades until we get that next fight that moves the needle. So this is like really the closest thing to like this is like the best it gets as far as moving the needle, because I know Crawford was intrigued by fighting Crawford. I mean Crawford, I'm sorry, McGregor.
Crawford.
McGregor was sounded good to him. He said he was tempted, but he doesn't want his I don't know what to say, credibility, to go away. He doesn't want to he doesn't want people to not take him serious in boxing anymore. So he's sticking to his guns and he's saying, "Why not? I'm still trying to be like, cement my legacy as the best fighters of all time." So fighting Canelo is one of those, legacy boosters. Like that would actually, if he beats Canelo, then that would, cement his legacy, bro. Is like one of the, I don't know, one of the best. He'll be up there with the Sugar Ray Leonards and the the best welterweights of all time, and the Haglers and the Hearns. Like he's up there with them. So I mean, except he's undefeated though. So he would be up there with Mayweather. You know. So yeah.
Not really. Nah, I mean, if he were to beat Canelo, well, yes. If he were to beat Canelo, he's up there. Probably, yeah, probably surpasses them. But as of
Yeah.
right now, in terms of body of work, Bud Crawford don't even have a Miguel Cotto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in his resume, and his, I don't even know if you want to call him that, but his rival, Errol Spence, he went through, a fucking wreck, bro, a
Yeah.
vicious one. So Errol could have been he at that time when Bud Crawford dismantled him. Errol Spence was a pound for pound fighter, but if you look at his last fight with Danny Garcia and specifically Ugas, he didn't look like a pound for pound fighter. You saw his vulnerabilities. So when Bud Crawford fought him, it's not a fault to Bud Crawford, it's Errol Spence. Bud Crawford reaped all the rewards and the benefits. That's the level of dedication and discipline Bud Crawford had over Errol Spence. Now, I'll say this. If somehow Bud is able to beat Canelo, bro, that guy becomes an all-time great fighter, probably in the top 10.
Mhm.
Because essentially he would be he's at 135, 140, 147, 154, and 168. That would be a 5-time division champion, and you can possibly say that he should be undisputed at 168 because Scully or William Score doesn't deserve that title. He would be a 3-time undisputed champion. That's crazy, bro. Lino and Ring. So
he would become the Roberto Manos Cepeda Duran at welterweight if he had beaten, let's say, Tommy Hearns, right after having beaten Sugar Ray Leonard.
yeah,
And we know that that is not exactly what happened, right? Dream made a couple of very good points that we should definitely address, right? He mentioned that moving the needle, the concept of a fight that titillates and excites so much, a fight that is so in demand that people are willing to part with their hard earned greenbacks in order to invest in their entertainment, knowing in this day and age that streaming is so facile an activity to do, right? And of course, then the question really is, what moves the needle? How far back do we have to go in recent history to determine a fight that has moved, quote unquote, the needle? And most recently, the only fight that's moved the needle that we can really say is moving the needle if we consider it a big fight that sells over 1 million. That would be, of course, Gervonta Tank Davis and Ryan King Wright Garcia, right? Now, we would have to look at what exactly about that fight moved the needle, right? But we don't want to get into that conversation necessarily right now, right? Because he also made a couple of other very good points, which is he thinks that this fight, hypothetically speaking, can be a 50-50, right? And I think that's where I would like to take this course of dialogue, right? Because, you know, Dream is not the only one that actually looks at this fight realistically. And by realistically, I mean if we know the history of the sport, we know that one, the sport is a sport of a puncher's chance. Anybody can beat anybody at the right time. We just found this out less than a month ago. Bruno Surase or Surah, he ended up beating Jaime Munguia, a guy who lasted all 12 rounds against a GOAT and Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan, aka Canelo, right? So we know that
Sometimes you
anything is
call
possible.
Canelo by his whole name reminds me of Skip Bayless when he goes Patrick Tom Edward Brady, and he says his whole name. He's like, bro, why can't you just call him Canelo, bro?
And,
Just call him Tom Brady. You're like,
well,
he calls him like Patrick, Tom Brady Edward the Third. Like it's like,
well, because we've had this conversation before, guys. The all the kings, all the famous people in the world, the Billy Joe Cyrus and all of these cats, what they do is that whenever they name their progeny, they consider everything. They consider the vowels, they consider the pronunciation, they consider the length of the name, and they consider whether or not the name actually rolls off the tongue, right? Because when you do things correctly, when you name your child in a way that you actually consider what their name should be in order for it to stick in the tongues of the people, you're actually setting them up for greatness, right? You are making it so that people say your complete name to the point that actually becomes commonplace,
no
right?
one is gonna remember Santos Alvarez Barragan, whatever you said, bro. People will
Yeah,
remember
but
him.
all right. But what I'm trying to say is that he's a great. My way of acknowledging his greatness is by calling him by his complete name, right? But going back to that idea that this really is, hypothetically speaking, a 50-50, I actually think it's more like a uh, let's say 40-60 or maybe 65-35 if we just go off of resume, right? Canelo's resume is head and shoulders better than Terrence Bud Crawford's. But nonetheless, if we look at styles, which is the other consideration that we have to really look at, does Terrence Bud Crawford have the style to beat Canelo? Has Terrence Bud Crawford fought a Canelo? Has Canelo fought a Terrence Bud Crawford? Those are very good questions to ask ourselves. Now, there's another very important person, a Hall of Famer, actually, that agrees that this fight is not only a 50-50. In fact, he sees it the opposite. Instead of Terrence Bud Crawford being the underdog in this your fight, Mr. Tim Bradley says that he has him not only for the upset, for the assured win a couple of days ago when he mentioned Crawford will, quote unquote, beat the brakes off of Canelo. Ladies and gentlemen, homie Ricky, Dream, what would motivate a fighter like Tim Bradley, right? A guy with a great resume, a guy who fought every single person there, a lot of undefeated fighters, a lot of very dangerous fighters. A Tim Bradley that was able to learn on the job, right on the clock, employ different strategies in order to win, whether that meant stand your ground and fight or take a step back, catch and shoot, or maybe even outbox a fighter. That guy who has many varied styles in order to win those fights. A guy who subjected himself to so much harm after he fought that Russian Provodnikov, a fight that, goodness, I thought he was going to retire in. That Tim Bradley says Terrence Bud Crawford, who does not have even remotely close a great resume like he does. What beat Terrence Bud Crawford? Ricky, Dream, what say you about that?
Bro, you say so much and you say so little, bro. Jesus.
I'm asking a question.
Listen, dude, listen. First and foremost, man, who cares what Timothy Bradley has to say? Like, how many times has this dude been wrong?
I do.
You know what I mean? This guy's been wrong so many times, bro. You know, for as big ass head that he's got, like, there's no substance behind his words, bro. Absolutely nothing. Now it goes like this: if Canelo Alvarez was dropping down to 154 or to 147, yeah, Bud Crawford would then knock out Canelo. But you mean to tell me Triple G couldn't knock out Canelo? Bivol couldn't knock out Canelo? Kovalev? Those three dudes are bigger punchers. They're bigger. They have longer arms than Canelo. And somehow Bud Crawford has something that Canelo has never seen. Bro, he's fighting Lara, Austin Trout, Billy Joe Saunders, Floyd Mayweather. All of these slick-ass fighters. Bro, but look, Bud Crawford has no leverage. No leverage. He's moving up hella weight. You get what I'm saying? Bud Crawford has never faced himself a legitimate top Mexican fighter, bro. And don't give me, oh, what about Ray Beltran? How Ray Beltran was in that 135 fight, he was giving Bud Crawford really good work, which is why Bud Crawford made Ray Beltran and he brought him into his fight camp stable because he loved the good work that he was getting at that time. Now, I, for one, respect Bud Crawford's resume. I respect his accomplishments. I'm not going to sit here and shit all over him. I love what he's done. I love the fight with Madrimov. I love the fight with Mean Machine. I hated how he dismantled my boy Errol Spence, but I respected it because that was how you're supposed to, put down a hurting dog. It was amazing. So I respect him outboxing my boy Felix Diaz, the way he outboxed Victor Postol. And he's faced some really credible challenges. And if you know the sport of boxing, you know how tough those fighters are. You get what I'm saying? So I like what Bud Crawford has done in his diverse resume. I respect that. But when it comes down to Canelo, it's very simple, and we all recognize what it is. It's a money grab. It's a big fight. He is chasing greatness, but that greatness comes in the form of the biggest purse and currency that he's going to make. This is where he really makes that retirement money, where his children's children gets to live off comfortably and never has to step into the boxing ring. That's what this fight means for him, and that's very significant. Only a select few of people, sense of the 1% are able to even get close to dreaming of this fight. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So when I talked about the fight in the beginning and how, only the 1% of the 1% make all the 90% of the money and keep it, that's true. And Crawford is in that mode. But that's just what it is. As for a stylistic standpoint, nah, man, absolutely not. I saw Jermell Charlo try to do something similar, and Bud Crawford is barely better than Jermell Charlo.
Okay, homie. So
hold on. Before we start talking about all these conversations, because we've had them in the past, you actually saw an interview or you read an article about Canelo Alvarez, why this fight interests him now.
Yeah. So okay. Before we go there, and okay, listen. The reason why I wanted to talk about this here topic, right, is because there has been rumors, very credible rumors, and of course we are gonna mention this story. I'm gonna read a missive to you. I'm gonna give you the words from the GOAT himself, Canelo Alvarez, on what his thoughts are about making this fight happen now. Right, but I really do want to answer that question. We've talked about this before, you say, but now it seems a very likely possibility, if not a probability, that the fight is gonna happen very, very soon. Now, I'm also privileged to some new information that may contradict that. But before that, this is the reason why we're having the conversation. I want to ask. I want to ask Dream, because I know that in your case you sort of agree with me. You said Canelo Alvarez has all the odds in favor of him. I completely get that. If we use reason, logic, history, and experience, everything would dictate that Canelo would not suffer any kind of hardships at the hands of Terrence Bud Crawford. But now I want to ask Dream about the stylistic side of it. I know that you also mentioned the stylistic side of it. You mentioned that Jermel Iron Man Charlo is very similar to Terrence Bud Crawford, no different in their fighting style. Let me ask you, Dream, when you talk about a possible 50-50 fight, when you actually give credit to Terrence Bud Crawford, his resume and his fighting style, when you say that he might be able to beat Canelo, what are you looking at exactly? What makes you think that Terrence Bud Crawford has a style for Canelo?
It's not even a style, bro. It's more like his discipline in the sport and his how fresh his body is
Hmm.
compared to Canelo. But Canelo's just strong, man. He's strong and he does have good defense. It's just sometimes
Great
I think
defense.
I think just like anybody else, they're gonna when they fight Canelo, they actually fight at their best, bro. Like Munguia did his best against Canelo, like he looked like better than he ever has, and so did Berlanga. And I think Canelo will actually do that with Crawford. I think he'll actually give him the best version of Canelo, and but Crawford, man, he's so like I call it wire strength, bro. Like there's some dudes that I've worked with in the like in construction that are just like wire strength, man. They can like they pack the punch within like in that small frame that they have, and Crawford's one of those guys, bro, where he's like just solid and he's disciplined and I just that's what's gonna give Canelo a hard time, bro. Is just he's gonna see how disciplined Crawford is, and he's gonna see how strong his guard is. How he's gonna see how how good he is as far as like his reflexes and his twitch reflexes and all that. He's gonna
Hmm.
see how very reactive he is to his movements because Canelo doesn't have those twitch reflexes anymore. Maybe he has he is, and this is the thing, we're every single time we see him fight, we see a different version of Canelo, So it's like it's just what I'm kind of insinuating on, what how Canelo's gonna look. Because honestly, Canelo can easily just turn it up, and it can easily just be too much muscle for Crawford to handle, you know.
Right.
Um,
Canelo showed you that, um, like he showed you a different version, and then what's up with this twitch? Canelo has never been twitchy. He's been flat-footed.
Do you, when you say Twitch, Dream, are you referring
oh,
to
my bad. I
reflexes?
thought you, I thought you talking. Nah, he just like well, when he was younger, he used to have twitch reflexes, bro. We talking about? He used to be fast, bro.
Yeah, but that's I think he loses a lot of that. Not necessarily
There in the
that.
pocket, he'll let
Okay,
go.
more than anything, he'll probably time you up. He'll time you up, but he's not slow.
No,
That's for
no,
sure.
he's just heavy.
Yeah, he's just heavy-handed, but to me, he will be like explosive.
See,
He can be
Tyson Fury,
explosive.
he's twitchy. He's got
No,
that
but
kid twitch, like da, 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 but with the feints. Canelo don't really feint like that. Canelo feints, like, you know what I mean? Like there's like that, like boom, boom, bah. You know what I mean?
I guess.
The Batman sound effects, bro.
Like you guys can see me slip and move over here.
I know, I know. I can imagine, bro. I imagine.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But nah, keep going, Drew. Keep going, man.
Nah, man.
Like,
What?
Canelo's been fighting the same like for like the past decade, bro. Ever since he hasn't fought
No, he hasn't.
the first fight where he
Nah,
was using a lot of lateral movement, he's never fought like that ever since. He's been
nah.
this
Nah,
like this stalking style.
nah. He adapts to whatever style is given to him. Like
Exactly.
if you're a mover, he'll actually cut the corner on you. That's how we caught Caleb Plant
And Billy Joe Saunders
and Bailey Joe Sanders.
and
Yeah,
Calvin Smith. And the list goes on. The last 10 years, he's been fighting like that. The only time that he
Yeah.
had a different look was Triple G #1.
Well, he stood his ground, right? But for the most part, he's always been
He stood his ground on Triple G #2. And Triple G
okay.
#3, he tried to go for the knockout, cutting off the corner because Triple G was older, and he stuck
Yeah.
by his jab the whole fight. The first fight, you fucking ran.
The one thing that is common uh, with Canelo is he never takes a step back. Right, that's the one thing. He's always either in the pocket or coming forward. Right, he's never going to be taking a step back. In fact, I think the only time that he ever took a step back, he was forced back at the hands of Dimitri Bivol. But
And
that's
Triple G and Perro Angulo. So
yeah,
look,
you have to force it out of him. You have to actually bring the pressure and let's say it, somewhat hurt him in order for him to do that, right?
yeah,
But
strictly. Look. What I'm trying to say is this: we've had all these conversations in the past. I don't want to talk about none of that because we've already had them. You wanted to go
okay,
live today because you found some news about Canelo Alvarez, and I asked you
yeah.
a question and you didn't want to answer. So I'm going to tell
No,
you.
I didn't say I didn't want to answer. I said we have to discuss this fight once again because it's going to be a probability that it's going to happen. Now,
Wait.
these are the news, guys.
Hold on. So I'm gonna give people an understanding of what's. The question was, what has changed that all of a sudden Canelo is now interested in the Bud Crawford fight now versus then? And what's
Okay.
changed, according to you, what you told me earlier in our conversation on the phone call, is that when he watched the Bud Crawford Madrimo fight, he noticed that Bud Crawford doesn't move anymore, right?
Well, that's not the only thing that's changed.
And the money has changed. And those are the two biggest things. Now, my
Yes.
question to but Canelo is this: if Bud Crawford didn't move a lot, and that's what you were concerned in terms of quote unquote making great fights, then why don't you go fight a non-mover in David Benavidez? See, Canelo
So,
is what I'm trying to get at. You see,
so the two things that have changed,
wait,
yes, homie Ricky.
hold on. You'll have your moment. Hold on. So Canelo, that's one of the things that has changed. That according to one fight in the Madrimo fight, Bud Crawford doesn't move anymore. What about the Sean Porter one? Canelo was Errol Spence. I mean, was Bud Crawford not on his toes and bouncing? In fact, that's how he got the late knockdowns. So what are you talking about? So the only thing that's really changed is the money. That's what's really changed because guess what? PBC has none. You already wiped them dry. Guess what? The zone doesn't really have that anymore because you already beat all those fighters. Now it
No.
makes sense
So
because there's no one left for you to make that money that Turkey Al Sheikh is gonna front you. That's
So
what.
the one thing that has changed, Tommy Ricky, you're a bit wrong there. You're trying to say that nothing has changed because David Benavidez has never been a mover, and the only thing that has changed in terms of Bud Crawford is that now because of age he is moving less, and that's the commonality. So it has to be something else. The one thing that has changed, ladies and gentlemen, is the relationship and the approach of Mr. Turkey Ali Sheikh and Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan is now a more courteous and respectful one, right? That's the one thing that has changed. Turkey Al Sheikh, just a couple of months ago, he was actually discouraged about making that fight happen. He did not want to have that fight happen. Remember, he was the very first proponent of Terrence Bud Crawford going up 3 weight divisions because when he was talking about this, he was at 147. He was entertaining those notions. He gave him an opportunity to go to 154. So now it's 2 divisions up. But Turkey Ali Sheikh has always been the biggest proponent of Terrence Bud Crawford taking on the best fights and the quickest step at becoming a 3-time undisputed champion. Right, but when Turkey Ali Sheikh approached Canelo and he started to go back and forth, and they had that, you know, tit for tat. Eventually, Mr. Turki Ali Sheikh stated the following, and I quote, I don't want it anymore, expressing a waning interest in Canelo versus Crawford, and that he was going to explore other big fights. And in fact, this report, written on the 6th of August of last year, 2024, he did exactly that. Turki Ali Sheikh went on to put Terence Bud Crawford against Israel Madrimov and making one of the greatest fight cards that has ever taken place in the United States of America in the heart of California, the city of Los Angeles. He took all of these foreign and American fighters, pit them up against each other, and then now all of a sudden we had a heavier, more flat-footed, and less defensible Terence Bud Crawford, right? Now, this is what homie Ricky is talking about. When Canelo says, right, that he now is thinking about fighting Terence Bud Crawford because all of a sudden he's this guy that doesn't move as much. What happens is that he now considers Crawford somebody that is willing to fight toe to toe. See, I'm trying to look for the report right here, guys. But in fact, what happened was when he fought, when Terence Bud Crawford fought Israel Madrimov, he was exposed to heavier men. He was exposed to equally talented and skillful, heavier men. Right, a lot of the things that people have accused Terence Bud Crawford of doing is taking on fighters that have been smaller than him. He's always had the advantages physically at 130 or what was it, 135, 140. And then all of a sudden he went to 147 where he started to actually challenge himself against naturally bigger men. But when Terence Bud Crawford fought Israel Madrimov, something about that fight right there made it so that Canelo Alvarez decided that he would like to entertain that fight. That now that they're both, older and more shop worn, and now they're both interested in that Turkey Al Sheikh money, and they have good proper relationships. Now Canelo wants to take that fight, and it's all because of what Canelo saw. Canelo saw a Terence Bud Crawford that was getting hit. He was moving less. And now he says this guy is able to stand there and fight me toe to toe without circling around, a fight that does not behoove me and is much less exciting for the fans. And I think that's actually true, guys. I don't like to watch any fighter circle around and just duck the smoke like we just saw in Iron Man Jermell Charlo against Canelo. I think Canelo is perfect, right, for this opportunity, for this chance, right? This is what Canelo Alvarez stated. He stated that this is the right moment for this fight. You guys tell me if you guys think it's a viable option, but he says so because the age factor and the footwork is no longer present in Bud.
Yeah, man, it just comes with age, bro. Like it just goes away. You know. I personally think he did have feints when he was like early on in his career. I'm talking like at little after after Floyd, he was still utilizing feints, and to me those are twitch reflexes. So I don't know what Rick is talking about, but
Yeah. Well,
so
this is that quote, guys. This is what Canelo said. I'm in. Why not? Don't get me wrong. He's a great fighter, but for me in my weight class, it's an easy fight, easy money. He continues on and says, if the money is right, I'm in because I don't like to fight guys like Crawford. He moves a lot, and the fight is not that great. I saw it in his last fight, and he doesn't move that much now. So, if the money is right, I'm in right now. Listen to what he's saying, guys. Don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter, but he's in my weight class. Easy money, easy fight. And he goes on to admit, really, that there's certain fighters that he wouldn't fight. Now we understand fights like Demetrius Andrade and Canelo not taking place, right? Because Demetrius Andrade is a quote unquote, you're a boring fighter.
But what
Money,
is
money.
Saunders?
Hmm?
What is Caleb Plant? Are these fucking hellacious inside the pocket fighters? Bro, I'm telling you, he's full of shit, bro. Stop it. What is Billy Joe Saunders? Billy Joe Saunders is one of the most boringest pure boxers that the UK tried to sell us that he was a legend.
Mhm.
Just because he can outbox David Lemieux, which was a boring ass fight. So why is it all of a sudden Canelo interested in fighting Billy Joe Saunders and not Demetrius Andrade? Don't
Because it's under his rules. It's under his orders. Is what I'm trying to say.
Was Demetrius Andrade versus David Benavidez a boring fight? Did Demetrius run from David Benavidez? Absolutely not. He actually tried to twist and turn him and put him up against the ropes like he did to Willie Monroe. Then in 4 rounds, boom! Right hand that freaking makes him cross-eyed, bro. Canelo is full of it, bro.
Well, Canelo is powerful, guys. That's what it is.
What about Caleb Plant's knockout on Darrell? That was inside the pocket.
The whole fight wasn't like that. That was a moment. Caleb Plant ain't known for stuff like that. That's why he got like a 37% knockout ratio.
I know. I'm just trying to argue.
You know what I'm saying? No, listen. I get what you're trying to sell me, but that's like if you're Eduardo Hernandez, the promoter. But that's not the reality. Okay? Canelo, throughout his whole career, has fought a lot of, you can call them boring fighters. A lot of the time, Erislandy Lara's career has been a boring one, right? Now, does Erislandy Lara have incredible moments? Yeah, I'm sure he does. Like the Jarrett Hurd fight was very fun. The Perro Angulo fight was very fun. But as a whole, that's not representative of his career. That's what he can show you that he's capable of doing. Like Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders overall is a boring. No mames, güey, cállate, güey. You don't even speak Spanish.
Are you fighting with our guests, bro? Come on. He's fighting with the chat.
I know. This guy.
The Mexican boxer #1 ever type in Spanish sentences? Never. It's always like, hey, no sabo kids.
Yeah. Mexican boxing.
I know.
Hey, he's a reliable draw. It's all good.
He's
a fun fighter. And for that particular purpose, I like Caleb Plant, and he's a very fun fighter. I don't really care so much whether a fighter is fun or not. Like, I look at styles. Like, yeah, bro, that's a good style. You know what I mean? But what's changed is kind of like what the Mexican G highlighted. Canelo is looking to be fighter soon. So he's looking for one more huge payday. And that is what's changed.
I look at how their style adapted to winning.
1,000%. If you look at every single thing that Canelo has done for a really long time, yes, he's gone after belts. He's gone after undefeated fighters. But he's also, for a lot of the time in his career, also has ducked a lot of fighters. Remember, when Canelo was at 154, he was ultimately ducking nobody. Fought Floyd, Austin Trout, Lara. Bro, those are 3 hard, difficult styles. Right? And then he realized, I build more of a career knocking out guys like James Kirkland and action-packed fights like Perro Angulo. Right?
And Miguel Cotto.
And
Shane Mosley.
And Jose Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Like, I'm making $1 million, pay-per-view sales with these type of fights, give or take. You get what I'm saying? That's what happened. He realized guys like Demetrius Andrade and Billy Joe Saunders, they're very tough sales. Caleb Plant was a tough sale, but they had an epic build-up that garnished everybody's attention, right? Canelo pushes him, slaps him, breaks the glass. He starts throwing it down. Like, that grabs people like, oh, shit, we're in a really good fight. And Caleb Plant is talking that ish. And people were intrigued because of the buildup felt very authentic. Something that Canelo, losing out of character, has never really done. His English got better. He became very funny. He had these viral comical moments, right? And he's just sunning all of these American fighters. So that was a moment not to be replicated ever again. Well, actually not true, because it was kind of more or less replicated with Edgar Berlanga. Because these guys had moments too, where they're talking smack. Canelo's a little more vulgar. You made a short video about these guys being very vulgar towards one another, and these gestures about masculinity and stuff and trying to impose. gay rhetoric on another man type of stuff. That's what Berlanga and Canelo were doing. Boom, boom, bow type of stuff. Anyway, so this is what intrigues people, these proper build-ups. And Canelo, when he started being very vocal and learning the English language, mainly the bad words, a lot of people find that funny and entertaining, and therefore they tune in because he kind of gets under these fighters' skins, and something's willing to pop off. So anyway, so what's changed with Bud Crawford? And there's only really one thing. You get what I'm saying? Crawford, make no mistake, he still has his legs. In fact, he tried to use a little bit of his legs against Madrimov, but the problem was Madrimov could match Bud Crawford's athleticism, and Bud Crawford got hit. What happens when Bud Crawford gets hit? And this is what makes this fight versus him and Canelo very intriguing. And you can't teach this. His heart and his competitive spirit. Once he gets dropped or hurt or hit, he wants to get it back and hurt you even more in which you hurt him. You get what I'm saying? He takes away the boxing element like he did with Victor Postol. And once you kind of rock him a little bit, kind of like Gamboa did, kind of like Mean Machine did, kind of like Madrimov did, then the fight breaks out and he's willing to throw out the boxing shit of looking cute and slick and pretty and get into a real fucking dog fight. That right there, once that happens, one Canelo hits him with some shit, then we're going to get a really interesting fight. Maybe a Hagler versus Hearns. Nice, short, sweet, and brutal. That is what makes this fight interesting.
That's what I want. Wow.
Absolutely. And I'm not the biggest Bud Crawford fan at all. So if Canelo can knock him out, let's get it. But what Bud Crawford will not do, and I hope he doesn't do this, and I'm sure that he won't do what Jermell Charlo did.
Oh my God.
When he got hit with some stuff, Jermell resorted to shelling up like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., blocking and distance. Same thing with Edgar Berlanga. Bud Crawford is not cut from those type of cloths like Jermell.
I dislike when people say that. Dislike when people say that. All right.
Why?
You're the second person that has asserted that Terrence Bud Crawford would not do what Jermell Charlo has done. Why not? What do you know about? He's never needed to. He's never needed to do that. He's never needed to change up his style. He's never needed to give up the fight. And in fact, here's the other thing. Just to refute that, when did Jermell Charlo ever do that before he did it with Canelo? You would never have thought that he would have taken a step back. You would never have thought that he would have given up the fight the way that he did. You would never have done that. And all of a sudden, he does it, but yet Terrence Bud Crawford is not the type to do that. Really, why?
No, I didn't say that he's not the type to do that. I'm saying once Bud Crawford gets caught, his pride and his ego allow him to throw out the sweet, clean-looking boxing shit and come out fighting. I gave you the Madrimov fight. I gave you the Gamboa fight.
Yeah, and that is true, but you also said he wouldn't do that.
He gets that. I got grit. I'm willing to rock and roll it. You get what I'm saying?
I get that.
Jermell Charlo, he always tries to keep it boxing. He doesn't really get into these hellacious fights. Now, there's been a couple of times like Brian Castano. Tony Harrison was always an outside medium-range fight, but it was very good boxing fights. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Jermell has always been a boxer in heart. When he fought Vanis Martirosyan, always used a lot of lateral movement. He was always a counter pure boxer first, then he was a come forward stalker until he started knocking out like, the Charles Haleys of the world. Then that was a different, Jason Banana Rosario. But that's not really Jermell. He's more like what you see right now in Jesse Vargas. Jabs, being disciplined, kind of a runner. His older brother, Jamal, was that dude where he sits on his punches. He's willing to get the knockouts. And that's more or less what Bud does too. Now, he could run around. You've seen it against, maybe he showed it in the Ricky Burns, but you've seen it in the that Russian guy, Victor Postol. So he's able to do that. You've seen it in the Sean Porter. But what I'm trying to say is once Canelo catches him, Bud Crawford he has pride and ego where it does get hurt, and he decides to, all right, bro, let's break out the fight, and that's what's going to be very interesting.
It
And
could play out like that, homie. It really could play out like that. Like you've stated, there has been opportunities in the past, historical references that we can harken back to prove that Terrence Bud Crawford, when he has been hurt or stung or hit flush, he resorts to digging in deep, getting that dog out of him, and then just going for the kill. I get that. But he's never been seriously hurt, and he's never been seriously hurt and hit by a shoe-in Hall of Famer
let me
like
ask you this.
Canelo's going to be in the future. And he has not been hit by a guy that just one fight ago was 3 weight divisions higher. Look, I'm gonna say this. I I like to respect every single fighter,
No, you
right?
don't.
I do. I like to give all of these guys credit. This is the reason why I always preface everything by saying that the sport is a sport of a puncher's chance. A bum from the street can walk up to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson tries to get a little feisty, a little hot headed with the guy. The guy might just clip him, right? Mike Tyson goes down. This is the reality of life, ladies and gentlemen. This is the sport of unpredictability, surprises, upsets, and underdogs. So I do credit Terrence Bud Crawford, but I'm not going to say that he would never do this or he'll respond to that, because the reality of the things, if we're talking about logic, we are talking about a fighter like Canelo Alvarez, who's cleared out every single person in this division. In 168, almost everybody at 160. He did great at 154. He's fighting all the legends from the past, people that will make it to the Hall of Fame, names, prior stars. He's done what Terrence Bud Crawford has never done, and he's gone up 4 weight divisions, maybe even 5. If I'm not correct, I think he started at 147. Terrence Bud Crawford is in his 4th division right now. I get that, but he's trying to do it on the cheap. And Canelo Alvarez says it's the right time because not because of so much Terrence Bud Crawford is more flat-footed or less mobile. Not that. It's because, again, and you're misinterpreting the reason why Canelo wants this fight. It is taking place under the respect that he has always demanded of others when negotiating with them. He's always fought people under his terms, and Turkey Ali Sheikh has now caved in to those demands. They have approached each other with mutual respect, and now this is the reason why that fight is happening.
Let
Not
me,
because Bud Crawford is lesser of a fighter now
let
or
me ask
easier to beat. Man, he just fought a guy that's 154, and he, for whatever reason, he was able to convince 3 judges that he won.
hold on. Let me ask you this: how many pound for pound fighters has Canelo fought when those fighters have been on their prime?
Yeesh.
Like
Say
for
that.
like, would you guys call Dimitri Bivol a pound for pound fighter?
No, but who is
Wait,
Canelo
okay, so
and Crawford?
wait. Is Billy Joe Saunders a pound for pound fighter? What about Caleb Plant, Callum Smith, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? Hell, even at that time, a lot of people had Triple G on the pound for pound list, but who had he fought?
What about Austin Trout?
Yeah, exactly. What about Austin Trout? Would you call all of those guys pound for pound fighters? Because really, when Canelo fought, and he's fought a couple of pound for pound fighters, because
Yeah, Jermell Charlo was a pound for pound and undisputed.
correct. But when he's fought a pound for pound fighter, and he's got a few of them, right? Like let's say, for example, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo got outboxed, and to be honest with you, that's probably the only fighter that has actually, well, there's been a few fighters, but Floyd Mayweather being one of them, that actually stunned Canelo. And in the 10th, 9th, or round, Canelo was up against the ropes and he got hit with an uppercut and he was stunned. Triple G also kind of stunned Canelo, but Canelo took it very well. Then there was Cotto's brother.
Yeah.
He put him on the skates and he went from one end of the corner to the other. So the reason I ask these questions is this: how many is Bud Crawford one of the biggest punchers on Canelo's resume? That is actually a big puncher. Now, we don't know if he's a big puncher or if his punching power carries at 168. I'm sure as of right now, we don't. But could we say that Bud Crawford sits on his shots more than Dmitry Bivol sits on his shots? Because Kovalev, when he fought Canelo, Kovalev didn't really throw a lot of power punches. Kovalev doesn't throw body shots. He doesn't really throw left hooks. It's just 1-2s, and he bounces. Bud Crawford has the whole arsenal. Bivol doesn't throw body shots. He rarely does. In fact, had he thrown more body shots and left hooks to Artur Beterbiev to the body, he actually hurt Beterbiev a couple of times to the body. But he's not really known for that. Bud Crawford hits head and body. So this is one of the only truly times where he's going to be fighting a fighter in a really long time that targets head and body. Canelo has an amazing chin. An amazing chin. You're not going to really knock out Canelo, maybe not even knock him down. You could stun him, but what happens when you hit him to the body? It's very interesting. Yeah. A lot of people don't really hit him to the body. Well, Bud Crawford actually digs fighters to the body. He hit Madrimov to the body. That actually hurt him. Jeff Horn was hit a lot of times to the body. That actually hurt him. I think Sean Porter was hit a couple of times to the body. He was hurt. Errol Spence was hit with some body shots. You go look at those fights. Now, bro, this is why this fight is intriguing. It's because of that competitive spirit. And this is going to be one of the first times where there is a fighter like Bud Crawford that Canelo hasn't faced in a really long time. That's what makes this fight intriguing. Now, I'll be rooting for Canelo. I believe Canelo will win. I believe Canelo will win by knockout, but it's going to be very tough because let me give you another time when Canelo fights small fighters. Another time when he fights small fighters, Miguel Cotto, I believe Bud Crawford's better than Miguel Cotto. Way more accomplished than him. And Miguel Cotto, smaller with smaller ass hands, went the distance at 160. Okay. Let me see this.
Miguel Cotto is a beautiful fighter, man. Perfect style.
Man, some punches on Canelo. Let me see what else, bro. There was another fight that I made. Oh, Amir Khan.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Canelo, bro. He was landing him, and that speed. You get what I'm saying?
That speed was getting to him, bro.
Absolutely. Yeah. That speed lifted Canelo off his feet. You guys remember that? It was like,
boom, 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 boom.
But we were all waiting for the knockout, you know, and it happened, you know.
Bud Crawford presents those threats. I'm not saying that he's gonna win. I'm not saying that, but I am saying it's very intriguing from a stylistic standpoint.
Yeah.
But make no mistake about it. For a really long time, Canelo hasn't really been in a legitimate, real fucking dogfight. And I think 7 rounds, depending what kind of fight Bud wants to engage in and how early Canelo hits Bud, and when the real fight breaks out, then that's when we're gonna really see the true testament and temperament of Bud Crawford.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense, right? I think the fight will have to. Wow, well. Here's the thing, guys. I could see both of these guys, their fury, their passion for victory, and their desire for violence. I could definitely see these guys get to that point where it just becomes toe to toe, right? I could see that, but they're both very masterful boxers, guys. They're very multi-talented, right? They both have, for the most part, chins. They both have very good speed. They both have very good reflexes, countering. They're very good at standing in the pocket. They're able to cut off the ring. They're able to do so many things that can probably lend themselves out to a very exciting, very close fight, right? But we just saw Terence Bud Crawford pit against another very good, technical, powerful fighter in Israel Madrimov. And guess what? The fight never really broke out. Not until the 9th round, when Terence Bud Crawford really put hands on Israel Madrimov. To that point, in my opinion, Israel Madrimov was, winning more rounds than Terence Bud Crawford. In fact, they still had him winning by 1 round. It was a very close fight, but The fight never broke out, except for one round where Ismail really brought it to Bud, and Bud brought it to Ismail in one round that it looked like if he continued, and if Israel Medrimov wasn't as skillful, it may have led to some more, uh, let's say, dominance on the side of Bud, but the fight never broke out. So, as much as we know that both of these fighters can let their hands go once they've been humbled by a very good, clean, powerful punch landing on their face, we also know that both of them are very good fighters that may actually just play it very much like Triple G and Canelo won, right? So I just wanted to say that I am excited for that fight. But let me ask you guys another question, very related to that fight. We know that Canelo, he likes to fight on Cinco de Mayo weekend, and of course September the 16th weekend, Mexican Independence Day, the uh, the two biggest dates in boxing, right? So his next fight will likely take place the week of the 5th of May. If that fight does not happen next, guys, are you guys going to be disillusioned? Are you guys going to frown upon Canelo? Would you guys think that he's ducking him, or and if not, or if so, who would you like him to fight next?
Before you get to
Canelo?
that question, hold on.
Yeah, because he might fight. He's going to fight somebody in Cinco de Mayo.
Let me ask you this, Drew. They have one common opponent, Bud Crawford and Canelo, Amir Khan. Who beat him worse?
Man, I would have to go back on the Crawford fight because I did watch the highlights. I didn't watch the fight though. But
Khan versus Bud Crawford.
obviously it was Canelo turned off his water, bro. Like obviously. So it was Canelo that fucked him up more.
All right, so let's think about that. Hold on.
But I don't know. That's
I gotta
just
make sure I find.
you gotta show me a highlight, maybe.
All right, for sure. So I remember the buildup. Okay, a lot of people were saying that Bud Crawford has never faced somebody like Amir Khan with his hand speed, and everybody was, "Oh, Amir Khan's got hand speed. He's got hand speed. He got hand speed." And remember, Canelo had trouble with that hand speed, and he had trouble with that movement, and he was looping really, wide right hands to Amir Khan's body. Then he eventually feints him and he catches that right hand over the top that fucking leaves him like a, fish without water. He was gulping. He was like, And what did Virgil Hunter say? Fighters gotta fight. They gotta fight their own guys. He went all crazy. And he took him 5-6 rounds. Canelo to finally knock out Amir Khan. I hope I got the timing right. This is what a Bud Crawford did in one round.
Because once Crawford starts getting his jab landing, then he's able to set up his combinations.
Okay. So just by looking at
electric scooter, bro.
Yeah.
Folded him, bro. Did you see how contorted his back leg was? Like it got caught. Almost did the freaking little splits. So what I'm trying to say is this. But Bud dominated Amir Khan in a different fashion.
Technical aspect.
Canelo can never. What I mean by that is this. Canelo has a slow jab. He's got a good jab, but it's a slow. Bud Crawford had a fast, flicking, twitchy jab, and he was beating Amir Khan in Amir Khan's game. Then he got folded by the same right hand over the top that Canelo landed. So here's the thing. Bud Crawford can do everything Canelo can do, but Canelo cannot do what Bud Crawford could do. And that's the difference. And the difference is speed and that footwork. Now, I'm not saying that Bud Crawford's going to win. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is this. When I saw Madrimov versus Bud Crawford, Madrimov does a lot of things that Canelo has never really done in his life. See, Madrimov was punching Bud Crawford on the inside of the bicep as Crawford is trying to throw his right hand or hook over the top of Madrimov's jab. Madrimov would throw his right hook to Bud Crawford's bicep. Canelo doesn't do that. Canelo hits your bicep or your tricep on the outer side like he did to Callum Smith because you have this tight defense. And then he's trying to hit you there so your hands can drop a little low, and then he can hit to the body or go to the head around with the four, around the guard. He's trying to penetrate the guard. Madrimov punches while you're punching. And he's punching, doing a lot of things that Canelo has never done. Here's another thing. Madrimov he looks like he fights and looks like Triple G and their whole posture, but he's basically built like Canelo. Short, stocky, thick torso, thick legs, thick neck.
He's got a different style than Triple G.
Very athletic. In fact, Madrimov used to be an amateur at 165 pounds.
Damn, I didn't know that.
That's why he was the main sparring partner of Dimitri Bivol.
Damn.
Because he was trying to copy Canelo Alvarez, and he could. That's why that was his #1 sparring partner in preparation.
No wonder why he's so ripped.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
Don't think that this fight right here, on paper, it doesn't look close. But when it finally comes down to it, bro, I've been saying this for a really long time. Bud can for sure fight at 160. I don't know about 168, 175. I don't think so. That's a stretch. But if Canelo can fight at 175 and 168, Crawford's a little taller. He's got 76 arm length. It's also possible for him. Now, what Canelo didn't really do is Canelo took his time. You know, he went to 154, made a catch weight at 156. He fought Chavez Jr. at a catch weight at 164. He properly built up. You never really saw Canelo make this big-ass leap from he did it once from 160, but he had already campaigned at 164, and then he goes all the way to knock out Kovalev at 175 to settle at 168. He didn't really make that big of a leap like Jermell, Bud Crawford, or Mikey Garcia is trying to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest difference. But, I mean, from a stylistic standpoint, Bud, don't get it twisted, Bud might have seen a Canelo style. And earlier I said that he didn't because I was like, "Ooh, Ray Beltran," but I was just thinking, Mexican style sense. Madrimov.
Yeah.
A little good example of what Canelo kind of is. Obviously,
that's
Canelo
a good point.
Better, but
that is a very good point, actually.
That's a good point. Except Madrimov, I feel like is more athletic and he has better footwork and versus Triple G. He had a big back, bro. Most of his back, I feel like, was generated from that big ass back that he had, and that's why he had good hooks, bro. And so different.
We're now accepting wide backs, not
big backs.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Roberto Duran went from 135 to 160, right?
No, 130 to 147.
Yeah, because they didn't really have these in-between weight classes. There was no 140. There was no 154. It was 135, 147, and 160. And I think there was only
160. I mean,
Henry Armstrong. Was it Harry Armstrong? I forgot. There's one fighter that held belts from 126, 135, and 147. I forgot his name, but there's only been one guy to hold 3 belts simultaneously.
Yeah.
He didn't go from 135 to 160 eventually, but he tested the waters at 147 where he beat Sugar Ray Leonard.
So Crawford will be right there if he does that. He'll be right there. He'll go down his history as our version of Roberto Duran. Although I feel like this is another subject, but I also feel like Tank could have done that, but he doesn't have the balls to do that.
You're right.
So Crawford.
Wait, you think that he could go from 135 to, let's say, 147, 154?
Dudes that don't have chins, yes. Like say he fights Amir Khan,
or Mario Barrios.
Oh, dude, he will knock out Amir Khan is what I'm saying though. Like just that glass chin. Whoever has a glass chin, he's taking it out. So that's why. But
he would have to overcome a lot of physical advantages. Gervonta Tank Davis is not, or Abdul Wahid is not that.
It depends what we're talking about.
But hold on, let's say Teofimo was
creative matchmaking.
Tank Davis could potentially fight Teofimo as a welterweight. You get what I'm saying? So maybe it just depends. Tank is a really good cherry picker, so he's gonna choose his fights very wisely.
Back to
Let me
Crawford.
ask you guys this though. You guys,
Back to Crawford.
you said something very interesting.
About
Damn,
10
went on.
moving up in weight classes.
Correct. Another thing that intrigues me about fighters moving up in weight classes is that you rarely see black fighters move up in weight classes where they potentially will lose. You get what I'm saying? Like, for instance,
Yeah,
Bud
that's
Crawford,
why you have to respect Terrence Bud Crawford.
absolutely, and Jermell Charlo. These guys are almost doing what a lot of our Mexican legends and fighters always do. Like, for example, Juan Manuel
Anthony Joshua.
moved up like 2 weight classes or so as a smaller guy and fought Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
You never saw Floyd Mayweather really do that. If
You
ever.
forgot about AJ.
Look at Navarrete. They're always telling them to move up. Oh, move up over here and what 135. We'll sell you this 4th belt. But, in preparation, because we're going to put you Keyshawn and Shakur Stevenson so they can take all your momentum. Oscar Valdez, they did the same thing to him, selling him to Shakur Stevenson so Shakur can reap all the benefits because he has more upside. Very rarely do black fighters do that stuff. That's why a lot of fighters criticize, a lot of black fans criticize Jermell Charlo because it's like, bro, you don't need Canelo, bro. You stay there and fight Bud Crawford. And that's why a lot of black fans are kind of hating on this idea because Bud Crawford, a very respectable name in the community, and guess what? He's willing to basically kind of quote unquote sell himself thinking that he has no chance against Canelo. They don't like that. So that's why it's very intriguing from that aspect as well. You don't really see that. So maybe if Bud Crawford is willing to do it and Jermell Charlo is willing to do it, maybe soon Devin Haney is willing to do it. Brian Norman, Jaron Boots Ennis. They told him, hey, go fight Virgil Ortiz. Nah, way, no quiero pelear, way. I'm going to stay at 147. You see what I'm saying? A lot of black fighters don't do that. So
Yeah.
a lot of fans will be like, man, these guys are acting funny. No, they're acting like, in terms of today's modern day and age, like Mexican fighters.
That is true, actually. That's true. When Evander Holyfield and Roy Jones Jr. moved up to heavyweight, it was the big talk of the day, talk of the town, because they moved up divisions. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, the Black American fighter has been very good at navigating the career and exploiting their physical and weight advantages in order to always become dominant. But we have also been very critical about the Mexican fighters always willing to sell themselves and their booty out in order to make those type of fighters great.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at, for example, here's another point. How many times have you seen Artur Beterbiev move up? What about
Nunskis?
You get
Nunskis.
What about Ruslan?
Nunskis.
Very rarely do they ever. Now you're gonna be like, wait, Ricky, you're cherry picking. What about Alexander Usyk? He moved up, sure, 1 weight class, and he did it properly, right? Lomachenko, you'd be like, well, what about Lomachenko? He's got 126, 130, and at 135, but he also won a gold medal at 135 at lightweight. He has 2 gold medals, 126 and 135.
Right when you were saying something good about him, man.
What I'm trying to say is Mexican fighters for a really long time have been pimped out and exploited by the system. Now, you might say, well, to be fair, Rick, that's also where a lot of the money is at. I agree. What is Bud Crawford now doing? Canelo is that money guy. Jermell realized Canelo is that money guy. So that, what I talked about in the opening sentences before I was muted by myself and I forgot to unmute myself, that's what I was talking about. Why do fighters turn pro? To get that money. Because they fought many times for free. So we know we understand it as Mexican fans that why our Mexican fighters do that stuff. But we sometimes wish, bro, your legacy means much more. But at the end of the day, they realize it's like, I want that cash. Marquez, my favorite fighter, Juan Manuel Marquez, after he knocked out Manny Pacquiao, and he said, my legacy means much more than what money can give me. I love that. That to me was like, damn, I'm not going to lie. Marquez got that 5th fight, but also there is nothing better than that ending that you did and you slept Pacquiao.
Bro, I agree. Look, and honestly, he probably he knew he was gonna do media, and that's why he knew he can be able to talk like this. He'd be like, bro, I just want to be able to talk like I'm like, I finally got my lick back, and it meant everything to me. He's repeating the story over and over, and just probably, you know, probably now he can sleep, he can probably die happy now, bro. But
Yeah.
like honestly, like he was looking for that shot for a while. I remember seeing like old footage of him just practicing that same shot that he knocked him out in, and he goes, dude, and I remember just interviews, he goes, I know I can catch him. I know I can. Remember that? And yeah, bro, and it happened, bro. So for me, I was more of a Pacquiao fan because I was a casual. So to me, man, Marquez was like just another Mexican to me. Like honestly, just as a casual looking in, from the outside looking in, and then just the more I've learned about the sport, obviously I learned that Marquez is like an all-time great. But yeah,
But also look at it like this. Again, kind of cherry picking to fit the argument for my need. But how many weight classes did Marvelous Hagler fight in?
I don't
I think
know.
one.
I believe he
Just
only
that one, right?
middleweight, correct. I believe he only fought there. So what I'm trying to say is, where does this come from? Why am I saying things like this?
Yeah, why?
And it's because
Mhm.
because for a lot of the time, the black school of teaching, when it comes down to boxing, is what? What has Floyd Mayweather always brought to light? Oh, boxing ain't gonna retire me. Well, I'm gonna get my money. I'm gonna get my bag. So they've always found a way to finesse the system. The black fighter, the black code, the black style of fighting, and the black teacher has always been about finessing the system, right? Because the system has always betrayed them. So they always have to find that way, that loophole to, get the last laugh. You get what I'm saying? So it's been happening for a really long time. And that's the difference that Bud Crawford is like, bro, you're beating the system. What are you doing? Same thing with old boy and Jamel Charlo. Bro, you guys are on top of the system. What are you guys doing, selling out when they're always about like keep my faculties in check? That's why they changed their whole style. But if you look at the heavyweights, bro, or even a lot of these amazing fighters, they used to go to war. Right? And then once they realize that Muhammad Ali and the slurred speech, and they're like, nah, bro, I want to retire. I'm not going to let boxing retire me. I'm not knocking the hustle. I'm not disrespecting anything. This isn't me attacking cultures and classes. No, no, no. I understand it. I respect it. I understand why you guys decided to do that, because that also gives you longevity. That longevity that you get is, not taking a lot of punishment. So that's why they fought very elusive and, like Drew said, twitchy. Again, so it's very from a different standpoint. That's why also that Bud fight intrigued me. Hell, that's why that Jamel Charlo intrigued me, because I'm like, wait, you don't really need Canelo, Jamel, and you're probably not gonna think and make a lot of money. Make a lot of money of what you think that you're gonna be making, bro. Because you might just make similar money in that Bud Crawford fight and actually have a chance of winning. So when he moved away in the manner that he moved, I was like, this is not Jermel Charlo-esque. It's not Black Fighter-esque. They don't really do things like that. And that's why I bring all of those factors, is that for a lot of the time, Mexicans have to do stuff like that, move up multiple weight classes.
I'll be quick.
Like
And that's the reason why a lot of people say that the backbone of the sport, homie, is the Mexican. Whether it's the fighter or the fan that supports the sport financially, the sport needs Mexicans. But you again, I think you stated that succinctly, right? You accredit and respect the African American boxing fan for being astute and savvy enough to box in a certain way that will allow them longevity in the sport, but also in maneuvering their negotiations in a way that would provide them proper booty, proper pence, right? So I have no qualms with that. I, in fact, am much more critical about the Mexican that's willing to do so much for so little just to make a fight happen. I just was reminded just a couple of weeks ago when Israel Vasquez died. I was looking at their purses, what it was that Israel Vasquez made when he fought Rafael Marquez. And the second fight, not the first fight, mind you. The first fight, it would have been paid even a lesser purse because nobody expected it to be. People expected it to be great, but nobody expected that it was going to be such a great fight that it would merit a rematch and then a three-peat, and then after eventually enough time, a fourth run at that same fight, right? But the second fight, homie Ricky, likely the one that would allow them the greatest payment. This is what they got paid. Israel Vasquez got paid $750,000 to Rafael Marquez's 425,000. Do you know how much Terrence Bud Crawford made fighting Sean Porter? Terrence Bud Crawford netted a guaranteed, and since it was a pay-per-view, maybe more than $6 million to Porter's guaranteed 4 mil. Right? The black American fighter gets paid much better than the brown American or brown Mexican fighters. Their careers last much longer. But I assure you, even though that works out for that person in the sport, we need the Mexican support both financially and pugilistically in order for this sport to survive. So I think you put that in a way that people can respect without seemingly biased in favor of one creed, nationality, or race over the other. It's just facts. Homie Ricky, I know you're probably gonna put us on break or something like that because you're probably expecting a shift or something like that. So if that is correct, I'd like to hop on into some other things, right? Well, actually, to wrap up this last segment about the whole Canelo versus Bud Crawford possible fight, right? I would like to state that May, the first week of May, is the expected fight for Canelo, right? But even though it seems very likely that these two men will fight because Turkey Ali Sheik is sponsoring Terence Bud Crawford, Canelo is saying positive things about that fight now because of the styles. I would also like to say that there might be a possible monkey wrench, something that may disrupt those plans. As reported today, the 2nd of January, current year 2025, the year of our Lord, and written in boxingnews24.com in a missive by a Chris Williams titled Canelo's team approaches William Skull for May title fight. In this report, it would seem, and this is coming from the Cuban William Skull, who is now living and residing and fighting out of Germany. He says that Canelo and his team came a knocking. Ladies and gentlemen, even though we hear a lot of ruminations going on about Canelo taking on Terence Bud Crawford, apparently Canelo and Eddie, they approached William Skull, the Cuban, the person that's so unheralded that I don't think anybody here that's listening to this your life probably has even seen him fight. But you may have seen him fight if you have watched a couple of Canelo's last outings. Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan actually had William Skull as an undercard fighter in his fight. I think it was with Jaime Munguia, not Edward Berlanga. And the reason he had him there is because he was trying to set up a possible fight, a undisputed defense against that guy, because William Skull had been number one to defend. I think it was the IBF, if I'm not mistaken. The IBF number one mandatory was William Skull. But of course, William Skull gave Canelo Alvarez a pass, and he said, "I'll take an undercard of one of your fights. This way, they get to see me shine. People get acquainted with me, and you get to fight for a big money purse." And Jaime Munguia, a mutual agreement that he would allow him to forego the mandatory defense in order for both of them to get better money and better opportunities. Makes sense, right? Perfect. Now, all of that changed when Canelo Alvarez decided to not defend against the unknown German Cuban William School, and he decided to take on Puerto Rico's or New York's, whatever you want to call it, New Yorican Edgar Berlanga. Now, the IBF stripped Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan. Canelo is not undisputed at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. The Mexican cheese says, William Skull, no, no. Yep. He slaps his head. No, nobody wants to see that. Shh. Well, Mexican, look, nobody wants to see it. I get that, right? But Canelo can become a two-time undisputed champion if he fights William Skull and reclaims his missing IBF belt and knocks that guy out. If you watched the short that I made on William Skull fighting this other unheralded, undefeated, very talented Russian, you'll see that William Skull is the worst champion at anywhere near 168. Yeah, 175, 168, 160. This guy is a very bad fighter, guys. Or at least that most recent fight that he had made him look horrible. Yet when he fought under the Canelo Alvarez undercard, he looked all right. That's why, you know, he got that opportunity. But he got stripped, Canelo got stripped, and now he has to fight that guy right there. And it seems that Canelo, yeah, I'm done watching Canelo. Canelo Alvarez reached out to William Skull. And it goes on and says, this probably won't make Terrence Bud Crawford happy because he hoped to move up to 168 to challenge Canelo for his unified titles. However, that doesn't look like it will happen for Crawford, who's a 41-0, 31 KO fighter, and he might need to make other plans, maybe even retire. Sometimes we don't always get what we want. And he goes on to say, let me see. Super middleweight champion William Skull revealed today that he's been approached by Canelo Alvarez's team for an undisputed championship fight at 168 and may end in Las Vegas, right? If the fight against the Cuban Skull 23-0, 9 KOs gets made, the WBA, WBC, and WBO 168 championship, Canelo would have opportunity to become a two-time undisputed champion. All right? So there it is, guys. Canelo gets to fight one more time, possibly to become a two-time undisputed at 168, likely beat a very easy to defeat William Skull, and he might leave Bud for the September date. Now, let's think about this, guys. If Bud and Canelo were to fight in May and not fight William Skull, it wouldn't be for undisputed, right? So that's a good thing, right? Because the way that I see it, Bud is not deserving of a defense, of an opportunity of becoming a three-time undisputed fighter, guys. When he's skipping 1 through 154 and 160, so much smoke right there. In fact, he had great smoke at 147. He had Boots, Sanis, in fact, Karen Chekensinian, Mario Barrios. He could have fought all of those guys at 154. Sander Sayas, Bakram Murtazaliev, Tim Su, Fandora, right? Virgil Ortiz. He could have fought Boots Ennis at 154 if Boots chose to go up in weight. He could have done that. He could have fought that undefeated Triple G fighter, Janibek Alamkanulai, that Cuban Thomas. He could have fought so many great fighters, potentially good fights at 154 and 160. And he wants to just mosey on in and just skip the line and go to the cash cow in the sport of a puncher's chance to make the most money, having never done anything at those prior weight classes, and just take on a Canelo Alvarez. Ridiculous. I'm completely in disagreement of that fight. Because if Canelo Alvarez gave him that opportunity as he held all four belts, again, Terrence Bud Crawford being as skillful as he is and being the same height and arm reach, and actually greater arm reach than Canelo, he would have more than a fighting chance to beat Canelo, right? Off of styles alone, and become the fastest and the only three weight division undisputed champion in the history of the sport. As the Mexican G mentioned, Terrence Bud Crawford has done so little in his eyes to make him a deserving champion of that kind of payment and those kind of opportunities. And I agree. I agree. I think he's done good, but he's not that great. He's not that uh, renowned. I don't think he's that exciting. The fights that he's provided us have not been the ones that we've asked for. And again, a lot of the times it's all these fighters that have ducked him, right? The PBC ducked Terrence Bud Crawford for the longest time. Hey, say la vie. It happens, right? But nonetheless, he has to climb up the ranks just like Canelo did. Canelo has never gone up to heavyweight, even though he said that he would do so, to become a champion in heavyweight, especially an undisputed champion. It'd be like him asking Usyk to take on a fight and then beating Usyk to become the fastest two-time undisputed champion and the only one at heavyweight, having climbed up so many ranks, right? So there's that to say, right? The good thing is that Canelo holding three belts and not four. If he fights Terrence Bud Crawford in May, he's at least robbing Terrence of the opportunity to become a three-time undisputed fighter. But if he fights William Skull and he beats that guy, which likely he would become undisputed again, making the September fight date with Terrence Bud Crawford for greater stakes. So I ask you, I know the Mexican G is in disapproval of this, but knowing that he can get all of his belts and then fight Terrence in September, is that better than taking him on right now? Because here's the other scenario. If he fights Terrence Crawford first, right, and he loses, Terrence Crawford would become a champion at another division, his fourth, if I'm not mistaken, at 168. Bud would hold three belts. Canelo would then move in on William Skull and
No,
ask him to take on a fight, and then Canelo would take on his belt back, get that belt, and then he could rematch Terrence Bud Crawford for his three remaining belts, making that fight at least a fight that Terrence Bud Crawford would have to go through two people or Canelo twice in order to become undisputed, which in my eyes seems better. What do you think about this dream?
um, I'm hearing you in and out, but yeah, like because I'm changing right now and I just got in my room,
Okay,
so
okay,
catch me up.
okay. So we just addressed the possibility of, or maybe even a probability of Canelo fighting Bud in May. But I just presented news that indicates that William Skull admitted as of
Uh,
today that Canelo and his team have reached out to him to make a possible May fight. So, what do you think about Canelo fighting William Skull to become undisputed, and then leaving Terrence Bud Crawford for a September date to give opportunity to Terrence Bud Crawford to become a three-time undisputed, the only three-time undisputed champion? Or do you think he should fight Bud so that Bud does not become undisputed? Bud would only hold that three belts. He, even if he loses to Bud, reaches out to William Skull and tells him, "Give me the shot. I'll pay you great money." He beats William Skull, and then Canelo holds one. Terrence Bud Crawford holds the three belts, and then they run it again in September for undisputed. Which scenario is better for you?
uh, I want Crawford right now. I want
Okay,
Crawford right now,
okay,
because time is against us as far
Yeah.
as having these two guys in their prime.
Mhm.
And these guys, they're and Canelo's actually younger than Crawford, right? I think. Or am I
Yes, it
wrong?
is. Yeah, he is.
So, but one has more wear and tear on his body. One
Canelo.
actually, yeah, Canelo actually stressed out his joints a lot more compared to Crawford. Crawford stayed skinny. I think he's one of those guys that stayed away from weights. Canelo, I mean, I'm pretty sure Crawford pushed like max. I'm pretty sure he can, 2 plates, but like quick and powerful. I think Canelo has actually added muscle. He actually built muscle. So he probably stressed out his joints more, a lot more fights, rounds fought. Crawford is more fresh. He's more disciplined. Um, so yeah, it's just, but the thing is, it's more about Canelo being in his prime, right? The longer Canelo waits, the worse it gets. I feel like, because Crawford's one of those guys. I don't know how long he's intending on fighting, but I do think he's one of those guys that's I'm not calling him a ageless wonder, but he's one of those guys that his lifestyle and his discipline can maintain, for a while, for a couple more years, like an Arthur
Well, I
Beterbiev.
mean, Manny
You know?
Pacquiao fought until he was 42, I believe, and
Yeah, but that's the
and
but
and he took a lot of wear and tear.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like they are their lifestyle is already the diet. The way they eat is already a diet for us. Like they eat healthy already. It's part of their everyday lifestyle, and they don't even try. Like um, so I think with the smaller guys, I think you're able to maintain the punches are a lot lighter. He was dealing with smaller guys for about half of his career up until he, you know, sustained more damage, with the heavier guys. But I feel like half of his career was with the lighter guys, and you're not gonna, um, it is a lot of rounds, sparred, but he's just one of those ageless wonders, you know.
Yeah.
That's, what can I say? Like
Well, yeah, no, that's great points because it's not that he's ageless. Obviously, having gone up in weight, we saw a different Bud Crawford. Even Canelo saw a different Bud Crawford. That's why he's entertaining that fight. But when we think about fighters like Money Mayweather and especially Pacquiao, those guys have way more wear and tear than Terrence Bud Crawford, right? And they fought up into their 40s. So yeah, Terrence Bud Crawford could easily fight up until his 40s if he wants to, because if anybody, that guy has taken so little damage in his fights that his body nor his mind nor his his cerebral functions have taken any kind of harm. Yeah, he could fight until his 40s, especially with that skill that he has. Yeah, he could definitely fight. So you want to see, and I believe I agree with you also, and I would postulate that the Mexican G similarly is an agreement. You want Bud
yeah,
Crawford next.
I don't want Skull. Like Skull doesn't deserve to be in the ring with Canelo. His name ain't built up yet. And I don't know what type of fighter he is yet. I did see his last fight against forget his name, but I watched it. It was I believe in Germany.
Yeah,
Out
it
there.
was in Germany.
So, yeah, so I watched that one.
He fought a guy
Um,
named Stishkin.
yeah, I wasn't too impressed.
It was horrible.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed. I mean, just he was explosive though, but he was just horrible, bro. Like he should
He
have
was so bad, bro. I'm telling you.
lost. I think I put money
Yeah.
to against him for him to lose that fight. Because I was actually doing some research on his style, and he's like very flat footed. Um, damn near won like I don't know how much, but man, the dude almost lost his last fight.
Yeah.
He lost rounds. He lost that fight. Never mind. I remember saying, yeah, he lost that fight.
Yeah,
He
you did say
literally
that.
lost the decision. He lost the decision fight,
Yep.
and the other dude got robbed. Okay, I remember now. Yeah. So he don't deserve it. He
I don't
lost.
think I don't think any of them did anything noteworthy to say. Oh man, he got robbed. It was a very bad fight, a very bad performance from both parties. I would say that I did have Shishkin winning, but if you had William Skull winning, I wouldn't disagree with you that much because it was such a bad, and it wasn't even a matchup. Like they both had the same style, right? They could exchange in the pocket, but it was funny because they were throwing so many punches in the pocket and they were missing them. It was ridiculous. There's so many punches that they missed. They really telegraphed all of their punches. They threw with so much desire to harm each other, but they were just missing so much. And I was, man, this is so bad. This is horrible. But okay, that might just happen. Just letting you know. All right. So just whatever happens, you will end up running into those situations later on. But uh, let me move it out to some other things now, if you don't mind, a dream. So
About what?
you know, I'm gonna hop onto another thing, right? Okay,
Mm.
when when in your opinion, if ever, is a rematch necessary? Right? Here's the thing. I don't know if you saw this, but Johnny Fisher just about 2 weeks ago or so, he fought Dave Allen, right? And in my opinion, Dave Allen got robbed. I think he won that fight clearly. Johnny Fisher, whose record is undefeated, Dave Allen, I believe he has five, maybe four losses. Now with this one, five. I thought that he won. Not only did he win more rounds, in my opinion, but he also dropped. And in a few other rounds, seriously hurt Johnny Fisher. Johnny Fisher ended up, you know, taking that fight and winning it, right? But now it's been revealed that David Allen reveals that Johnny Fisher's team have, quote unquote, reached out to him about a rematch after the controversial first fight this month, right? And around the same time, a couple of days ago, actually on the 29th of December of prior year 2024, as reported in Boxing News 24/7, there's a report titled De La Hoya hints at William Cepeda versus Tevin Farmer rematch. Now, Dream, I'm sure, I don't know if you saw the Johnny Fisher Dave Allen fight, but I know that you saw Tevin Farmer and William Cepeda. Well, I mean, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
who won that fight?
Uh, Man, I think Zepeda looked his worst in his whole career, but he still edged it out. He still edged it out barely.
Because of the punch
Uh,
output, or
yeah, yeah, output. And yeah, punch output. And Tevin Farmer, um, he did a great job. He just did it, couldn't maintain. You know, he couldn't
remember
maintain his.
Tevin Farmer dropped William Cepeda.
That's what I'm saying. He couldn't. But Zepeda just kept coming back, and he
Hmm.
didn't come back with the same thing he dropped him with. Like for some reason, he didn't want to throw that again. You know, like
Yeah.
or he couldn't land it. I mean, you know, I think he was trying, but he was only able to land it once, and that's really the only way to have William Cepeda's like respect. You know,
Hmm.
I think running would only do so much. I think he just, you know, he gassed out towards the end of the fight. You
Yeah.
know, so I think, you know, I do remember saying like he was winning the beginning of the rounds. You know, and then he drops him, and I was like, dude, I think he's up. You know, but Zepeda just came roaring back and won the rest of the rounds, and I just feel like
Okay.
that's what it was close though. That it deserves a
Yeah.
rematch for sure.
Okay. 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 You said it. It deserves a rematch. In my opinion, that was a very close fight. No matter who you chose to give it to, it would not have been a convincing win. Like you can't say, "Oh, this guy took 10 rounds out of two." No, right? It was like give or take. It was always a give or take. Both of them fought in the pocket. We know that Tevin Farmer is necessarily in the pocket fighter. He could be a very mobile fighter, but he was able to stand there, catch and shoot, bob and weave, and just block punches and throw in between. William Cepeda's incredible output, and he ended up surprising William Cepeda. And I thought that in a very close fight like that, you have to give it to the guy who drops the other guy. So I thought William Cepeda should have lost that fight. Now, the Dave Allen fight was similar to that. There was a few, especially in the initial few rounds, there was it was a very close fight that Johnny Fisher was bringing the pressure to Dave Allen. Dave Allen was getting some quality licks in there, and then Dave Allen has some very good rounds later towards the fight, the second half of the fight, and he also gets that knockdown. So I believe quite similarly, Dave Allen should have won what to many may have been a close fight. To me, it wasn't that necessarily close, and he got the knockdown, so he should have won. Now, in this case, De La Hoya, who's the winner, the promoter of the winner, he's reaching out to Tevin Farmer for a possible rematch. Okay, that sounds like it's pretty fair, right? Now, we go to the same situation with Johnny Fisher and his team. They reached out to David Allen and they say, let's run it again. Now, let's think about this. Let's think about this real quick. The winners of both of these fights, they don't have to run it back with this guy, right? Because they won, right? Like, for example, Johnny Fisher, he got, in my opinion, very lucky that he got to the decision in his favor. William Cepeda, in my opinion, he got very lucky that he got the decision in his favor. But now you have to ask yourself, if they should have lost and it was their toughest fight to date, they're either rematching to make it right for the other fighter to get their opportunity to really beat him convincingly, which I think is fair, right? You want to be the better man. You say, hey, you know what? There's controversy. People think that you may have won. I don't feel right about it. Let's run it again. But there's two different situations, Dream. Johnny Fisher is nowhere in the high rankings of the heavyweight championships and divisions in order for him to even get a shot at a belt. So he doesn't have anything to lose except maybe a fight if he decides to rematch Dave Allen. But here's the thing, though. In the case of William Skull, he definitely has a lot to lose. Why? Because William Cepeda does not have to fight Tevin Farmer, because if he wants to, he can fight Gervonta Tank Davis. He can fight Shakur Stevens. So let me ask you, is William Cepeda ducking any of these fighters at lightweight in order to rematch against a fighter that he's obviously going to have the favors in because his promoter's on his corner? Is William Cepeda a duck?
Nah, I don't think he's a duck, man. I think he's one of those fighters that, relies a lot on his output and just wants to outwork you, But the thing is, with the Tevin Farmer fight, it pretty much gave Shakur like all the confidence in the world, right? The thing is about what and the Johnny Fisher thing, Johnny Fisher's undefeated as well, but he's not considered like, the best one out of it, like, in this division, obviously. And and these guys, and with David Allen, he's sparred him before, plenty of times, and they know each other. And with Cepeda, he just didn't know this guy. He didn't know him too well. So I think Cepeda, is just playing his cards right. He wants to see what better options he has, and he doesn't really know what he has in front of him as far as like Tevin Farmer as a fighter, because um yeah, he's a old he's a veteran, but like he knows how to like switch it up, you know, and I think he's trying to play it safely just because uh this guy's seasoned, you know, and he has I wouldn't say he has gears, but I would say like he knows what's needed in a fight to win it. You know, it's just sometimes his body's not able to keep up with him, like we've seen in his last fight. He got tired, and I think that was the major reason why he wasn't able to keep up with was Zapata, you know, and yeah, man, I think Zapata is just playing it safe now. I think he's obviously looking for a higher payday, and I think there's just way too much risk in between, like really just that division, and as far as the options, the number of options he has, and Shakur, you know,
I,
if he's gonna have anyone that's a slick fighter, he wants to get paid the most for it, you know, and that would be um Shakur, you know, Shakur, or I don't know if a Devin fight would even matter, but um, you know, obviously, with the Zapata though, he pretty much needs to prove to everyone that, hey, I'm still that guy, even though I got dropped. Like that was just a fluke, you know. He needs to prove to everyone that this is a fluke. But this is the thing: Tevin Farmer is an old fighter, and for that dude to drop you, uh,
yeah,
and
you're right.
he's inactive though. You know, he's good, he's seasoned, but he's inactive though.
Yep. It
That
looks
wasn't
so bad now. Now that you mention that,
he
it
wasn't
does look
in,
very bad.
he was dude compared to his prime. He's nowhere near his prime.
Who?
Um,
Tevin Farmer?
yeah, yeah.
Well, look, I was very impressed. Very impressed. See, this Tevin
It was his
Farmer was,
IQ. It's his IQ that was standing out,
yeah,
but
yeah,
he got
yeah.
tired.
But his power, though, that's the
No,
other
that was
surprising.
well, sure. Yeah, it was timing and precision though.
His timing was great. But okay,
Yeah.
so okay, yeah. Thank you for reminding me about Tevin Farmer. His recent history has been that he was really out of the sport after losing to Jojo Diaz like about 4 years ago. He was out of the sport for nearly 3 years. And then he came back and he took on two names, two unheralded, unrecognized names to just warm up. And then all of a sudden, Golden Boy reached out to him after he came back about a year ago, and he took on two fights, and he said he want to fight this guy, and Cepeda agreed to fight Tevin Farmer, of course, because why wouldn't he? Tevin Farmer has never been a power puncher. He's always been a back footer. Well, maybe not necessarily a back footer, but he could be because he's very defensively responsible. But he also knew that he'd been retired of the sport for 2 years, and he had fought no name competition in order to warm up. William Cepeda and Golden Boy reached out to Tevin Farmer because they knew that Tevin Farmer could elevate the respect and admiration of the boxing world, because he had been a champion. He had been very good of William Cepeda. Unfortunately, it did not pan out that way, right? Because he got dropped by a guy that's not known for power, and in the eyes of many, he actually got robbed of a victory. Now, we're asking. Here's the thing: I asked you the point, and you said, "Yeah, he probably should rematch." And this is the Mexican cheese says. When I asked the question, he goes, "Cepeda just made the mistake of underestimating Farmer. Cepeda will slaughter Farmer in a rematch. He wants to run it back to prove a point." I ask, should he do that instead of fighting a much better paid fight for a belt? Because again, Shakur Stevens is waiting for some action. If he wants to, William Cepeda is number one mandatory for Javante Tank Davis, and also for if I'm not mistaken, even Dennis Baranchik, but he won't get Dennis because Top Rank negotiated with you know uh, Steven Davis. I mean, and he can also fight Shakur Stevens. Now, I ask you, a Tevin Farmer fight can only make Zapata feel good if he beats him more convincingly. Like, see, it's a fluke. Okay, I got it. But here's the thing. He can also lose. And the eyes of many, he already lost. So why wouldn't Tevin Farmer be able to, as a more boxistic individual, learn from the first fight and beat him more convincingly the second time? Right? And here's the thing. Tevin Farmer is not a big name. If he fights that guy just so
Well,
that he could feel good about beating him, it won't be well paid, and he could risk losing his opportunity
this,
at being number one for Shakur Stevens and
yeah,
Tank Davis. Is the risk worth it?
no, this is the thing.
Hmm.
It's not. You know why?
Hmm.
Because the more active, like if it's like, okay, so Tevin Farmer's problem was inactivity. If
Yeah.
you are allowing him to be active and continue his role that he's on, he's
Hmm.
gonna get better. His
Yup.
wind is gonna get better. So
Hmm.
you want him to be more active now in his training and go through another training camp because that's what he needs. He needs to stay in the gym, but he's not. He's actually flipping houses and building them. He's making money some other way, you know.
Well, now he's back in the gym. He's already fought twice in one
Well,
year.
yeah,
Well,
he's
three times in one year.
it's possible to do both, but I'm saying when you're in training camp mode, you're eating right. You're not in bed with your lady a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not
Like
doing
me.
a lot of those things, bro. Huh? You're not
No,
sex?
I was
Yeah.
saying like me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you little animal. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's
See, you're proving my point, though. It's just gonna be more dangerous for
yeah,
Cepeda
it
to
is.
take on
It
Farmer
would.
again.
It would.
So why
You're
is
just
he ducking Shakur Stevens?
uh I mean, we see why, but I don't know. Shit, maybe there's more
That's a good point. We now see why.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you're great. See, here's the thing. I think you just answered that question. Tevin Farmer, he has to be able to beat Tevin Farmer in order to know that he can beat a slick African American fighter that is responsible, has good timing and a good speed behind him. So yeah, and that's what Shaq does, but much fresher, much taller, and much more powerful. So yeah, no, he has to, in order for him to assure himself that he is ready to take on Shakur Stevens, not Javante Tank Davis, but Shakur Stevens, he would have to get over Tevin Farmer once again. But I just think it could be a very bad gamble. He could go on there, fight Tevin Farmer for very little money. He may lose, and he may lose his opportunity at fighting Shakur Stevens. If I was him, since he's already looking like he could be beat by a slick African American fighter, I would say, you know what? Give me Shaq for Turkey Ali Sheik money, for Eddie Hearn money, and then if he beats me, hey, he's gonna pay me 3, 4 times more than I would have gotten against Tevin Farmer. That's the way I see it. And he could become a champion if he beats Shaq.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's yeah, those two situations you just named, they're just two different ones, bro. You got one that knew him and they're both heavyweights and they kind of grew up with each other, bro. They known each other since they were young in the amateurs, I guess.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, with Zapata, honestly, it was more of a styles fight, styles makes fight, and I think it didn't matter. Well, it did matter because how active Tevin was because he needed to, keep up with the output. But with Zapata, man, is just um he's still special in my eyes though. He's still it's not sustainable. His style is not sustainable, but and that's why you teach your kids to like to defend, like to the defense and all that. He kind of erases all that because his offense is his defense,
Mhm.
and I think with his style, he rather take his chances with his style um against a different type of fighter. Maybe he can fight. We're talking 135, right? So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
um let's see. Floyd Schofield's a 140 pounder, right? So never mind. But yeah, we
Well,
just
now
got.
he is. Now he
Yeah,
is.
now
Yeah.
he is. Yeah, so there's a lot of 135 pounders we can find out there. For Zapata. They just gotta make him look good and put highlights. Put a
Mhm.
little highlight reel on him, but for sure, he knows he'll lose against a Shakur, bro. He'll definitely lose against a Shakur, maybe even knocked out, bro. Just because stylistically, it's perfect for Shakur.
Yeah.
It's perfect for Shakur. All you got to do is just make him tired. You know, make him tired and make him use all his energy, like Floyd Mayweather Sr. said. Just make him use your energy, and that's literally what he did to Canelo. And just masterclass his ass, bro. Just that's what he'll do to Zapata, and Zapata knows it. You know, so I think Zapata just wants to fight the top guys that are gonna give him good fights, but you know, yeah, I think Shakur's not ducking. It's Zapata who would duck, but you know, uh, I think I think that fight would happen eventually. The way you're saying it, like how I don't think it's an intentional duck. I think it's mostly everything just like is is Oscar it's Oscar talking, Oscar's making all the moves and pretty much putting his saying his input and like saying what he thinks, and this is his investment. He's going to protect it how he wants. I'm pretty sure Zapata would actually make the fight with Stevenson, and take his chances. But I already know the mentality, bro. These fighters want to fight. It's a promoter thing. So I think Oscar knows it, and there's interviews of Oscar De La Hoya saying that Stevenson is the greatest fighter he's ever seen in person in his whole entire life. So he said that, and when you speak highly of someone like that, I think you're just kind of taking your chances as far as like going up against this guy as a promoter, you know,
Yeah. You know what
and
I'm thinking?
rolling the dice, and the chances of Zapata beating Stevenson, and it's like 1-9 or some shit. I don't know, but the odds will
Yeah.
be
You know
crazy
what?
if they come out.
I'm thinking that Oscar may be just throwing that out there to maybe have Turkey and Eddie Hearn nervous, right? That if they don't negotiate or offer a very good purse for Shakur Stevens to fight William Cepeda, that he will actually take his fight to Tevin Farmer instead. I think he's trying to put a little pressure on him to offer a bit more money, because one thing I haven't heard from Turkey and Eddie recently is they want to fight William Cepeda. I haven't heard any rumors about that fight's next or that fight needs to happen. I haven't heard it from Turkey. I know that Turkey wants Shaq to fight somebody. So if there's a threat, a possibility that Cepeda might actually fight someone else and be preoccupied, therefore extending this hiatus of Shakur Stevens, who's likely over a year now since his last fight, that may just started setting in that rust. I think that might incentivize Turkey and Eddie to say, hey, you know what? How about 4 million? How about 4 million? And we'll fight. Cepeda, or maybe with Turkey involved, it'll be like, how about 10 million? And then I think everybody would like really agree on shaking hands for that. So I think maybe that's what a little bit of what's going on. But here's the other thing you have to ask yourself, Dream, in light of what Tevin Farmer has been complaining about, not only about being robbed, mostly he was complaining about how they didn't do any kind of drug testing, even though they had promised that they would. Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy said that they were gonna drug test afterwards, and after a month of still not happening, Tevin Farmer was still reneging and complaining about that never having taken place. We do know that William Cepeda has a lot of acne in his back. I ask yourself, if Tevin Farmer and William Cepeda was the only fight that did not get drug tested on Latino night in Riyadh season, Should Tevin Farmer fight that guy, even though he believes that William Cepeda may be on the juice?
My bad. Say it again.
Tevin Farmer thinks that William is on the juice. Should he fight him again?
Taylor Farmer thinks he's on this juice.
Yeah, he said that they never drug tested him. They drug tested every other fighter on the Tino night and Riyadh except for him. And he asked before the fight to drug test it. They say, "We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you." They didn't test after the fight, and he continued to bug about it. He was talking about it a month afterwards that they still hadn't drug tested. William may be on the juice, according to Tevin Farmer.
I think that's just excuses, bro. Like he just so inactive. Nah, it's just the output is output, bro. Like it's fucking so hard to
But he
do.
didn't get tired, bro. He actually mentioned that. He
He
said
did get,
the
he
guy
did get,
he did get tired.
he does get tired, bro. I mean, bro, like he just keeps going. It's a mindset, bro. Like I don't know. It's pretty crazy talk, man. I don't know. It's just that's what he thinks. Tests proved otherwise. Why hasn't anything came out? You know what I'm saying? Like nothing has came out yet about that. So I don't believe it.
Yeah. I don't know. Apparently, they never drug tested him. And again, he was the only fight of the fighters that took place. Even Chris Pittem Smith and Zurdo Ramirez, they got drug tested. Every single Latino there got drug tested. The Puerto Rican, what was his name? Collazo, he got drug tested. Everybody except William Cepeda. And William Cepeda was being very vocal the week of and the week after and a whole month after. He was still waiting. He was very upset about it. So I'm just asking, if Tevin Farmer does rematch William Cepeda, knowing that one, in the Isomania he got robbed, and two, Cepeda may be drugging himself for advantage, he should ask for leverage. He might want to ask for a proper referee and drug testing to take place before. And I think that might actually just, if it's true that Cepeda's doing drugs, it'll show in his performance, right? If he's adamant and sticks to the fact that they drug test or he will forfeit on the fight, and we see a different William Cepeda, then we would know that there is at least some evidence that William Cepeda is juicing. Let's see what the Mexican chief says. Goes, we don't know how good Shaq is. He only fought Valdez, a fighter past his prime. Cepeda won't lose to Tevin Farmer. He knows he can beat this guy, but if he can get a Shaq fight next, he should take that opportunity. Yeah, that's all I'm saying, Mexican. I'm only saying that he can lose to Tevin Farmer, and he can lose to Tevin Farmer on the cheap. So if he wants to become a champion and get the most money, he should at least take that risk, take that gambit, and fight Shakur Stevens. I mean, God knows that is a much more in-demand fight than him in a rematch with Tevin, soft-handed fighter, and as skillful as he is, Farmer, right? But he says he's not mad at Shaq. I think Teofimo, I'm not sold on Shaq. He thinks Teofimo would mop the floor with Stevenson. Yeah, maybe. Dream, I want to hit you with another real quick news just to see if maybe I can get your opinion on the following, right? Well, first off, I just wanted to report this real quick. My man Fabio Wardley, after beating Frazier Clark and breaking his mandible, he is now WBA #1 heavyweight contender. Wow. What do you think about that, Dream? #1 heavyweight contender. That means he can actually fight Alexander Usyk. What do you think about that, man?
That would be a great fight, bro. I just feel like Fabio Wardley, didn't he already lose already?
No, no,
He
no.
has not lost already, right? So
Fabio Wardley is the guy who never had an amateur career. He just one day moseyed on in, into a gym, and he started fighting. He just started fighting, and his best performance, his best win was against Frazier Clark, who has an opposite career to that of Fabio Wardley. That guy has had an amateur experience. He was well renowned I think he was once sparring with Tyson Fury, so he comes from those guys where he was already in the boxing circles, and both of them were undefeated. Both of them were knockout artists, and all of a sudden, this guy from off the street, really. Yeah, like Warren, she says, you can't be a geek off the street. This geek off the street, Fabio Wardy, goes over there and puts on a fight of the year contender in 2024 around March, and then they ran it again in November, and he utterly destroyed Frazier Clark in the first round, breaking his jaw and denting his head. Now,
Bro, I remember seeing that shit. I was like I
he
remember,
had a mini seizure, remember?
dude. I thought he was having a seizure, but the whole time he was good. He was just he was just trying to open his mouth, and he was like, "Oh man,"
Oh, okay.
you know. And he was
So he
trying to
didn't
open his
have a
mouth.
seizure then?
No, it wasn't a seizure. It was more like him trying to catch his breath and him realizing that his mouth. He was like, "Why do I feel weird?" And he was trying to open his mouth, but he couldn't because his jaw was broken. So he broke part of his jaw, and then you seen like a dent on his head,
It was
and that
scary, right?
yeah, and that's pretty much where the jaw was supposed to be attached to his skull,
Yeah.
and that part was just there was just an empty space, and the
Oh.
skin just like put a little dimple on his face.
A little dimple. But
Yeah.
no, that's true. But then what about those sleepy eyes? The fact that he didn't move, he was lingering there against the ropes, immobilized with one of his arms bent
Well,
weirdly,
yeah,
and then
he was
his
out, but he
eyes
was
looking
out,
like dirt.
but he was out on his legs. I remember, like, my dad a long time ago. He tells me, like, man, I remember one time, I was fighting a group of guys and they just couldn't drop me. And my dad used to weigh like over 300 pounds, and
What?
yeah, and he used to and they couldn't drop him because he had such a solid foundation, you know. So
Yeah.
and then me personally, I remember just taking shots and just like never being dropped, like and also I was sparring smaller guys, but I know how that how it feels to like to kind of be out on your feet a little bit,
Mhm.
but it's mostly just being winded, but yeah, no, this guy was kind of he was dizzy. I'll give him that. He was dizzy, but he was still standing up. He wasn't
Yeah.
like out, he was on his back, you know, like he was still trying to his legs were still trying to power through, you know. But yeah, that fight was crazy, man. Everyone kind of knew Fabio Worley was gonna knock him out, just because of his reaction in the first fight. He didn't really react well to his punches in the first fight, but Fabio Worley needs a shit ton of work, bro.
Yeah.
Uh,
Of
he needs
course,
he
man.
needs a shit ton of work, and that's why I feel like he will never be ready for Usyk. He will never be
But
ready.
I really respect the fact that you said that's a good fight, that you would actually watch it. Here's the thing. Let's just read a couple of the names on the rankings of WBA, right? Alexander Usyk is the true belt holder. Kubrat Pulev is a regular champion. We know that some of these guys have these interim or baby belts, right? So we have Kubrat Pulev as a regular champion. Fabio Warley is number one ranked. Martin Bakoli is number two. Martin Bakoli just beat Jared Anderson, by the way, right? Michael Hunter is third place. Lenier Perot. Tyson Fury is in fifth. Guy Caballel in sixth. Mahmoud Char, or what's his name? The guy who just lost to Mahmoud Char just actually lost to the guy who ended up kissing that girl on live television. Uh, Pulev. Yeah. He ended up losing to Gubrat Pulev just about 3 weeks ago. So we have that right there. So I guess it's not a bad thing. I don't know if I would have Fabio Worley over, let's say, Martin Bacoli. That's a very good one. But at least I appreciate that
Martin
Tyson Fury is now
Bakoli, Martin Bakoli would mop the floor with him, bro.
with, with Fabio Worley.
Dude, yeah, like Martin Bakoli is actually one of the best heavyweights in the world, bro. Like he is a problem. Martin Bakoli probably beats I want Zhang, but he probably can beat a Zhang, bro. Like he is the boogeyman, bro. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, he is very good, bro. Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I'm asking if it's a legitimate fight. That Fabio Wardy would have it just off
Fabio
of beating
Wardley.
Frazier Clark twice in a
I'm
row.
I'm not gonna call him Rolly, but he's like,
Oh no, no, no,
but
no, it's
that's
not.
what
Come
Rolly
on.
did. That's what Rolly is though. Like Rolly came into the sport really late and got lucky with his career and made it a lot of money, you know. And Fabio Wardley has a potential of making a lot of money because he has a lot of power and all that. And it's a little
Yeah.
different with heavyweights, obviously, because
And you have to respect that because
Wilder
at
was
least he has power. Joe
yeah,
Parker wasn't able to knock out Wilder. Joe Parker wasn't able to beat a knockout Azile saying. So it's like
but still he beat like Joe Parker will beat anybody who doesn't have good boxing fundamentals. You know, he'll beat
true,
anybody
true,
who doesn't have like yeah, he's done and
true.
he's proved that. He's proved that with I think he beat Zhang as well, right? So
Uh,
yeah, I think he beat Zhang. I might be
yes, he
wrong.
did. Joe Parker
Yeah,
did.
so
Yeah.
he beat Zhang, he beat Fury. I mean Fury, he beat Wilder. I'm pretty sure he'll be another non-traditional boxer, you know, like Fabio Wardley. You know, but that's how much work he needs, bro. He needs to like not be a power puncher because he needs to find out how good of a boxer he is, but he knocks him out instead, you know?
Mm.
And you need to
Well,
find out.
one thing I do like is the fact that my man Fabio Bordi has has mostly on in himself to number one ranked against Alexander Usyk. I don't think that fight would ever happen, but hey, whatever, right? I mean, Alexander Usyk is gonna have to defend against somebody now that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua seem to be in negotiations to make a possible dream fight between them happen. So that's pretty good. And yeah, so the Mexican, she says, "Oh, that Russian guy, he got charged with sexual assault when he kissed that reporter." Yeah, he did. Um, it's a little complicated situation, the Mexican, because apparently. This comes from the voice of the words of Mr. Bob Arum and also Pulev. It seems that Jenny, I forget what her name was, but she was a reporter. uh, Jenny something. When she was interviewing Kubrat Pulev, it was not like she was interviewing a stranger. Apparently, according to Mr. Bob Barron, she was his quote unquote part-time girlfriend. I guess they used to go out or they had some kind of uh, relationship or an acquaintance even before the actual interview took place. Famously, he Pulev was in a very good fight. He knocks out his opponent. The interview takes place post fight, and then all of a sudden she asks a question. He answers it. He goes in for the kiss, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Whoa, whoa!" And the whole world's seen it. And then Kobrat Pulev takes a lot of crap from all these people that said that he forced himself honor in live television, that it was very unmanly and ungentlemanly, and it was borderline assault. And sure enough, she ended up getting a famous public defender a legal defender to represent her in the sexual assault case that went up to I think it was not the Supreme Court, but some kind of court, and then they determined or made some kind of an agreement, a financial agreement to settle it. And yeah, he ended up having to take sexual assault courses in order to no longer treat women in that fashion. Now, if they had been a couple before, then I don't think that's sexual assault. But if there was nothing like that going on, yeah, that was very scummy of Kubrat Pulev to have handled Jenny like that and have kissed her like that with so much disrespect and pretension right there on live television. So, yep, that's what happened right there. The Mexican says, apparently that reporter is no stranger to controversy. Hey, if you know of other things, let me know because I want to know more about that reporter. um, I thought the guy that put you in Bambi Lakes was charged with SA. Okay, not a good outcome for him. Okay, but so that's one of the other news right there that has recently taken place. And this is the very last thing that I want to hit you with. We just have a few more minutes, and thank you very much, Dream, for having hung in there so long. But Jose Benavides Sr. had a very horrible 2024. It all started about 5 months ago or so when he took one of his fighters to one of the pro box events in Plant City, Florida. He takes on one of his upcoming fighters, and all of a sudden, as his fighter wins and they're interviewing him after the fight, the reporter tells him, "So, what do you think about what is this going on? Why did you and Jose Rayo Venezuela part ways?" And he said, "What are you talking about?" Yep, Rayo Venezuela parted ways just a few minutes before the fight concluded. He said that he had parted ways from Senior and that he was going to move on and start training with Robert Garcia. Right? He did not even have the common decency and respect for Benavides Sr. to tell him, "Hey, I have different plans. I just lost the fight and I want to train with Robert once again." He had to find out from a reporter that he had left him. Now, this is what's going on. Apparently, as reported yesterday, on January the 1st of the current new year 2025, boxing scene. A report is titled "After Overcoming Strain with His Son, Jose Benavides Sr. Angles for a Strong Start to 2025." A few months ago, Jose Benavides Sr. wasn't sure how much longer he'd remain as lead trainer of his WBC light heavyweight interim champion son, David Benavides. He goes on to talk about how he trains Diego Pacheco, Omar Salcido, of course, his son David Benavides, and 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 he goes on to talk about how this old-fashioned family bonding may be changing, right? And there's a lot of strain. It seems like David Benavides may no longer have his dad as his number one trainer. Dream, let me ask you, is that a bad move on David to no longer rely on his father so much and make some last minute changes in order to fight David Morrell?
Um, Me personally, because everyone has their own how would I say it, like their own philosophy,
Mhm.
how they go about things, and pretty much I heard it all. Like not all, like I haven't heard, like there's situations where fighters switch and there is no drop off in their performance, and there's times where they lose because of it. But in my opinion, I think if you have this formula that you've been using as far as like your coaching, your eating, you have it, like you can get better within camp, but um, I think he's done it all with his dad. He's switched locations. I think he went from like Seattle to Florida,
Mhm.
um, and you know, like it's up to David Benavides to really switch it up. Um, but I'm pretty sure he wants different opinion as well. As far as like how he's like, you know, training and all that. But honestly, for me, I think uh it depends what kind of coach, right? It depends. Are you bringing in a new strength and conditioning coach? Is it a strength and conditioning coach and a coach? Like is it kind of like a whole new wardrobe? Like what is it? So some of us need a better workout regimen. Some of us need better coaching. I think what David needs is he needs a because obviously if you switch up your stance, you're either gonna gain more power or you're gonna lose some of it. Because you're already like punching hard.
Mhm.
So you're either gonna improve that or you're already doing it to the best of your ability and need to build some muscle. You know,
Mhm.
But I think David Benavidez can actually build some muscle. Um, and actually improve his punching power. But he needs such a new wardrobe that um I just feel like if it's not broken, then why fix it?
That's
Because
a good way of putting it.
yeah, and I just feel um it's like it's like you're in the very what's the word I'm looking for? You're in a very critical situation, like critical. Yeah, you're in a critical spot in your career where if you lose to Morel, it's like you're not even at the big fight that you want yet. Like I would kind of do that after you lose, I guess, right? Uh, once you lose, then that's kind of when you start to switch it up. But I mean, um, because this can actually, if you change up your training regimen, it's like you're getting to know a new version of yourself, and you're not going to be able to adapt quick enough because you've done all the training. It takes months to get your body where want it to be, at its peak, and you want to peak at the right time, right? And what if you don't know how to peak, as far as your weight and all this shit, so um yeah, that's what I've realized, man. Switching up your training regimen can
Mhm.
actually throw everything off, you
Yeah,
know
that's a good point. I think you said
so
it succinctly when you
yeah.
said if it ain't broke, why fix it, right? And so I guess let me ask you because it sounds now that I'm reading a little bit further into this report, right? Um, I'm not gonna use the word jealous, but it seems like David uh, was a little concerned that his father was doing too much, spending so much time training Diego Pacheco, Omar Salcido, a couple of the other Benavides stable fighters. And now that he was trying to make the biggest moves with Canelo and then having to move up to, you know, uh, light heavyweight, he figured that his dad was no longer applying so much attention to his own development, and he says, quote, this is senior, when you have a big team and you start bringing in people, oh, everybody wants to feel like they're the one, and you have a lot of people talking behind your ear on this and that, and sometimes we can get all lost, and that's what I think happened. So I think he's insinuating that somebody got in the ear of David Benavides, probably telling him, hey, listen, man, you have to move on from your dad because he's growing. A lot of people are asking for his attention. It's going to affect you. And I believe that's actually true, right? If you have a trainer that's dedicated to you exclusively, it's going to be much better than a trainer that's so separated from you and divided between how many other people he has to train, right? And he goes on to say, now I'm closer with David more than I've ever been. Sometimes we need that moment of truth. And I think David realized all my hard work that I've put in since he was 2 years old. We are stronger now. And he doesn't just tell me, he shows me as a man. And he says that David and him started to bond over David's new child, and also because David started taking to prayer and meditation, and that's what helped him out to reunite once again. So in light of that, we have to ask ourselves, when David Benavides moved up to light heavyweight and he looked pretty mediocre against what was his name, the guy who he fought, uh
Morel? Oh, he
no,
fought?
no, no, yeah, so Morel fought some guy,
Oh,
and David
uh
Benavides fought the other guy.
Hot Rod.
Oh yeah, Hot Rod, Rad Shadadev or whatever. When he fought Hot Rod and he didn't look too good, that is what he's hinting at. Senior is hinting that that may have been a time when he was not as very focused on the development and improvement of David Benavides. Now that they're rekindling the relationship, now that they're closer than ever, do you think now that they're reuniting to train together? Because this report goes on to say that David Benavides is actually living in Miami while his father is training and living in Seattle. That now they're getting together, training more to prepare for Morel. Do you think this is the winning formula to beat a fighter like Morel?
Yeah, I mean, I think the formula was already there. Um So I think it didn't. I think this might be a good this might be a good move. Just thinking about, I'm just assuming, I guess. Uh, I'm always on the side of why, don't, if it's not broken, why fix it?
Hmm.
You're already doing all the changes within your, without changing coach. You're changing location. You're doing all these changes, and I think he's mostly trying to help out his dad, trying to grow, and trying to give him more time, to allow him to grow as a coach, you know. But the thing is, he needs to get his badges. He needs to get that experience in, at so he can say, I've coached at the highest level. I've coached, Benavides and countless, like defenses. But obviously, if you feel like, I always feel like Freddie Roach can change anyone's career. So
Yeah.
dudes like that, I always feel like dudes like that can do wonders for someone like Benavides, especially with that punch output that he has. Um, and also uh Robert Garcia. You know, I feel like Robert Garcia can do wonders to a career and someone's confidence too. Just because he seems like a respectable dude, and I know personally dudes that look at him like their second father, bro. Like, kid you not. And so yeah, dudes like that just make it easier to listen to, rather than someone that's like, I don't know. And then maybe I'm missing some names. There's a dude that I'm missing. Andy Bruce's former coach. Um, I forget his name. He has a beard. Um, and he's with Jose Venezuela, I think. But yeah, I forget his name. But anyways, dudes like that, maybe Manny Robles. There we go. Thanks, Mexican boxing or Mexican G. But yeah, bro. So shout out to that guy.
Don't offend the Mexican G man, calling him Mexican boxing.
I know.
No, no, no. The Mexican boxing number one is
Manny
a
Robles.
legendary
There we
troll.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
Manny Robles. So that dudes like him, bro, like just because he's used to dealing with bigger fighters, and it's just different, bro. Like, just uh bigger things fall slowly, and I don't know. I just feel like when I spar bigger guys, I always feel like they're so slow, but when they impact you, it's like fuck, and then with the smaller guys, it's just I'm average human height, I'm like 6 foot, so
Mhm.
it's like sometimes I deal with the small guys, sometimes I deal with the big guys, but the bigger guys for me are easy to deal with just because I'm so fluid with it. But like, not to be cocky, I'm not even fluid actually, but I'm fluid compared to them, and compared to the smaller guys, I'm like fuck, overwhelming, bro. Like, that's why I use that experience. And I'm like, I think Crawford would fuck up anybody, bro. If you're not sharp, you're not sharp. But I'm saying, but anyways, with Benavides, bro, I feel like Benavides, his output, whenever someone, you can't teach that output that you put out, like with the Zapatas, the Benavides, you can't teach that. No one's telling these guys to throw 100, however many punches they're throwing.
Yeah, 100
they're,
punches around.
they're doing that because they got heart, and they do that because they know they can do it again in the next round.
Yeah.
And
Takes a
and
lot of
whenever
work, a lot of
yeah,
dedication.
and whenever you can actually think about what you're punching instead of just throwing, and you become efficient and at it, you can become a dangerous fighter, bro. Like, I feel like the high volume punchers are like the most dangerous in the sport. Like, they are the most adaptable, um,
Well, if William Cepeda threw less punches,
and thought
I think
more.
it'd be more effective. Yeah, yeah. Like if instead of throwing a dozen, 100 punches in a fight, if he threw 700, 800, I think it would be much more effective. He's a southpaw. He has a very good punch variance, right? He has good power, and a good enough speed, and he has a good enough chin, right? So if he just threw less, and he didn't throw with so much power behind him, if he varied the speed and the pop of his punches, I
Mhm.
think he would definitely
And
be a greater threat.
I didn't honestly, I
The
didn't
homie.
find that out. I didn't honestly, that didn't make that whole concept of maybe you throwing less, maybe it can be more efficient. I didn't, I didn't understand that, until people proved it to me in their fights.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, for example, Lara. I didn't know it was possible to become that good of a fighter late in your career by switching up, your style almost. It's fucking incredible. I'm like, damn, bro, like you can go 10 more years, I think. But nah, I'm like overacting. But maybe like, he just extended his career, but he could because he's sitting on his punches more, So
With
hey dude,
Longo, six
I
foot.
gotta I gotta go
You
to sleep,
gotta
bro.
go. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
I
for
gotta
it,
go
man.
sleep. All right, man. Peace.
Yeah, peace. And to answer your question, the Mexican G, William Cepeda's trainer is a gentleman by the name of J. Panda Nahar. William Cepeda throws upwards of 1,000 punches a fight on average because he trains in high altitude mountains in the nation state of Mexico. So, yeah, maybe he's not necessarily juicing or shooting up uh, his beef like the homie Ricky does. That clenbuterol, but you never know. There's so much to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. But it is high and nigh in the night, and we do have to sleep in order to refreshen our bodies, restore our energy reserves, and do it again. I'm sure that we're gonna have more boxing conversations in this year. I know homie Ricky has set himself this task to grow. I hope now he starts maybe promoting his lives, maybe posting more fights, more amateur fights, maybe doing breakdowns. Who knows what he's going to do? But hopefully, it's a big year, not only for the homie Ricky, but also for myself, Dream, Mr. Vince Vargas, Mexican Boxing number one, El Pachuco, who's not with us, Ari Medi, and and of course the Mexican G. Anybody that visits here, best assured that we do respect and value your time. We wish you the best, and we appreciate it that you spend a little bit of your day with us discussing all things organized violence and pugilism via the sport of boxing. For the homie Ricky, Dream 123, and myself, your co interlocutor, Warp Speed, I hope you are doing well of health and sane of mind. I'm gonna play my ending music before you end the live. Homie, let me just play this one song that harkens back to my show because I plan to go live maybe even tomorrow. Live long and prosper. Engage.